At the beginning of our course, we'll create the similar UI which we have in the ChatGPT in React. What functionalities we'll have? We'll have possibility to open the new chat and ask the AI questions. Hello, AI. And as soon as the AI will prepare a response, the OpenAI API will be able to see that on the screen. Also, we will have the previous conversations history, and that conversation history will be related with the sessions of the browser. So if we'll go for the incognito or private mode, we'll have the second chat history, or if we'll switch the browser. Here we have also possibility to delete all of the conversations, and also once again we can open the new chat and ask AI about the questions. How is it working? We have our React application, which is connected with our server side, where we have Express application with SocketIO. So we are sending the request to our server, and our server is sending this request further to OpenAI API. AI responses are being generated, responded back to our server, and we are sending back this to the client. And we have our own ChatGPT application, which is using the same model which is based on the original application. So just to not waste more time, let's jump straight to creating this amazing application. Let's talk about the tech stack which we'll be using in our application. Here we have the user in our React application. The front end of our application will be created in React from the beginning, so you need to have a little experience or even just the experience with JavaScript, and you will be able to follow up the course. How it will be working? The user will be typing the message, for example, hello AI, and this message will be sent to the server side. At the server side, we will create our own server with the Express, which will be the Express application, which will connect with the SocketIO server. We'll save this user message in the store, and as soon as we'll save this message in the store to have our chat history in our application, we'll be sending this message from the user to the OpenAI API. AI will be generating the response, same as is doing in the original application of the ChatGPT, because we'll be basing on the same model. And as soon as the response will be ready, it will be sent back to our server. It will be not going directly to the client, because we want to save this message from the AI in our store. And as soon as we'll save this message in our store, we'll send that response to the client. To this user, we just sent this message of the hello AI. And if this message will be back at the client side, it will be displayed on the screen. So that's the flow which we'll be implementing in our application. We will start with the UI in React. Later on, we'll take care about the server side and connection with the SocketIO server. We'll be displaying the dummy messages from the server, and at the end of the course, we'll take care of the connection with OpenAI API to generate the real AI responses. What we would like to create is the UI of our ChatGPT clone application. What we want to have? We want to have the sidebar on the left and this screen at the middle where we'll have that chat functionality. We'll have a button for a new chat and also the button to delete conversation. If we open the new chat and we'll type message, hello, what we'll have right here, we'll have the responses from the AI. And if we'll send the message, we'll have that chat history on the left. And what we want to do with at this part of the course at the beginning, we just want to create this UI with the dummy data. We'll be not connecting straight to the server side and OpenAI API. We'll just create this sidebar, this chat functionality, and we'll see if everything will be just looking as here in our application. And after that, when we'll finish the UI part in our React application, next we'll add some SocketIO and server-side logic, and we'll connect we will connect our React application with the server side. To create React application on our computer, we'll need to have Node.js on our local machine. And how we can do it? Let's go to the google.com and we'll be looking for Node.js installation. Here we have this first site, which is nodejs.org. And here, if we'll go straight to this site, we are able to see all of the versions for the Windows, Mac OS or Linux. And depends, of course, of your platform. You just need to go for the correct platform. The installation is straightforward, because if you will just see this pop-up of the Node.js installation, you just need to go and just go next, 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 and everything should be installed. If you have like a specific distribution of Linux or something like this, you have also here documentation and everything, which you can find on this site, how to install Node.js on the specific platform. What we are interested with, when we'll finish the installation, let's go to the terminal of your computer or the command prompt, depends of the platform at you are. And what we want to do it, we just want to check if the Node installation, if we have Node on our computer. So if you have that before, that's perfect. But if you didn't have that, you just need to go and install that from this site, which is just nodejs.org. Now, how we can check if the installation was successful? We can go and just go like this, Node version. And also with the Node installation, also that will be installed npm, where also we can check the version of it. And if I'm able to see the version of Node and npm, I'm able to create my React application in the next video. Let's create right now React application. And how we can do it? For this, we will use npx create React app, and we'll go for the documentation how to do it. Create a new React app, and we are interested for how we can create just dummy React application, like just template of simple app. And here we have this command which we are interested with, which we have npx create React app and the name of the application. As you see, to do it, we just need to have Node and npm, which we have installed in the previous video. And if we have this Node and npm installed, also we can use this command of the name of npx. Now, I would like to create that React application, but where I would like to do it, I will create a new folder on my screen, which I will just go as ChatGPT Udemy. That will be the name. You can just name the folder however you want, how you would like to do it. And now, when I will have this folder, I will just go to that location. I know that this is on the desktop, and now I just need to go to change directory, ChatGPT, and I will be just pointing for this Udemy. I can see that this folder is empty right now, and now I just want to create this application, npx create React app, and I want to add here the name, which will be ChatGPT. That will be the name of my application. And now we just need to wait a while when this sample application will be created, which will be editing, and when that will be finished, I will come back to you. After the application will be created, thanks to that command, we should see the information about the happy hacking. And now when we have that information, we can try to start our application. How we can do it? We have information that new folder has been created of the name of that our application, and on my computer is ChatGPT. So I will go to that folder. Even we have here suggestion how to do it. And now I would like to start the application to see if our React application is working with the command npm start. Application should be open automatically, and now we are able to see our first React application. Sometimes this screen will be looking different, depends on the time which we are taking this course, but we'll clean up we'll remove all of that components which we are not interested with. So don't worry if you will see a little different screen. But if our application is working, we are able to start working on our application. Let's right now open our created application in our code editor. It doesn't matter which code editor you are using because all of the files should be the same, but personally I use VS Code. So what I need to do I need to open the new window and I need to find this folder which I have created on the desktop. So going to the desktop, I know that the name of this is a ChatGPT Udemy, and also I'll be pointing for this folder of the name ChatGPT. And I will just go as a select folder, and now I'm able to see all of the files of my React application. We have node modules, which we are of course needed because here is all of that React this is all of the packages which our React application is using. We have the source folder where there is our code, and also the package.json file with the list of the dependencies and all of the scripts and config. What we have right here, we have this index.js file, and I would like to do with some cleanup. I don't want to have this web vitals, so we'll just remove that here. And also what I don't want to have right here, now we're gonna left this as it is. This is fine, but we'll go to the app.js folder and we'll only return right here. We'll remove this div and we'll just return only just simple div, and we'll go inside as hello. Now when we'll just create that simple div, we can remove this logo because it will be not necessary. I will also remove this app.css because we'll be not using that file. And now we can go and delete this, which is app.css. Also, I'm not interested with app.test.js. We can also remove that file. And we'll left the index.css. Here we are importing this index.css. We have this setup tests. Also, we'll be removing that. We'll be removing this report web vitals. And now we have absolutely clean application. Logo.svg also we are not interested with. So what we have right here, now in the source folder, we have only index.js where we are using this app component, which we have right here in the file of the name of app.js, and the index.css, which is imported right here. It's good convention to have that CSS file at the end like this. And now it's looking absolutely fine. We know that our application is started, and when we are editing our application, we have like the watcher, which is Webpack, which is watching for the changes. So we don't need to restart our application to see the changes. So we know that we have removed this, all of that screen, which we have seen before with this logo, and we should only see hello when we'll open our application on localhost 3000. Let's test this. We will go to localhost 3000 and I'm able to see that information about hello. And that's everything what we need right now. And in the next video, we'll start creating our first components. Let's start create our own first component. In the source folder, I will go for the new folder of the name of dashboard. And inside of this folder of the name of dashboard, I will create the component of the name of dashboard.js. What we want to have right here, we would like to have a simple functional component, which I will be using snippets to create. And what we need to have, we just need to import the React from React. We need to define the name of the component, and here the JSX which we are returning. And of course at the end we just need to export this component, which is this one which we have right here, that's this dashboard. And to use it, we need to go to the app.js and import this component. We'll go for import dashboard, and we just need to point for this folder which we have created. which will be dashboard, and here we have this dashboard. Now, when we have this import, we can use it here inside in our JSX, like this. Now, we should be able to see on the screen that information about this dashboard, which we have right here in this div. And now we are able to see that information, so our component is working. It's all about just the React stuff that we are able to create the components which we can reuse, and we can do it very simple because we are just defining the JSX and also all of that content which we would like to return. But this course is not about the React, but we are starting with the very basic stuff, so if you are a beginner, you should be able to follow that with me. Now, when we have this dashboard component, we want to add some styling. Let's define the class name, and the class name will be dashboard container. That will be the name of the class name which we would like to assign to this div. And now, just to not waste time on styling our application, because we want to create the UI, we want to create the server side, connect with the OpenAI API, we just wanted to exchange also that messages, get that responses, so we'll be not just wasting our time styling our application, because I don't think so it's necessary, because this course is not about the styling. So I have prepared already created styles in our application, which will be attached to the resources to this specific lecture. So in the dashboard folder, I will create the new file of the name of dashboard.css, and that file, as I said, will be attached to this lecture, and you can just copy all of the styles which will be in this folder here to this dashboard.css. And as you see, that's all of the stylings which we'll be using in our application. Now, when we have this dashboard created, to make that CSS and this class names stylings working, we need to import this file, and we just need to point for this dashboard.css, like this. Now we have only dashboard container, so we'll be not able to see that because it's like just the wrapper, which is like 100% width and high, because as you see, when we can go and find this dashboard container in this dashboard.cs file, and what we have right here, we just only have display flex, height specified and width specified. So this is just the container. So this is the first component, and in the next video we can create the two sections, which one will be the sidebar and second section will be later on used for the chat functionality. We have our dashboard container created in the dashboard.js component because we have assigned this class name of the dashboard container and created that div. And what we would like to have right now, I would like to have the sidebar. So let's create the new folder in the dashboard folder of the name of sidebar. And here I will create the new file of the name of sidebar.js. And as before, same with the dashboard.js, that will be the functional component of the name of sidebar. And what I would like to have right here, I would like to assign the class name of the sidebar container. As you see, we don't have imported right here CSS file, because when we are importing this dashboard.css right here in this component, we just need to do it only once in our application. And all of the class names which we have in this file also will be able to use in the other components. Here we can just write also the information that's the sidebar. And what we need to also, let's create in the dashboard folder also chat, because that will be the second section which we'll have in our application. And inside of this, we'll create the component of the name of chat.js, and that will be same as the functional component. And what we'll have right here, we'll have the same as before situation that we'll just assign to this div that we have only, for now we would like to have only div of the class name of the chat container, like this. Also inside of this div we can write the information that's chat. Now we need to see these two sections, we need to use these components. And now in our dashboard.js file, first I will use this sidebar and the import will be added automatically. So make sure that this is coming from the sidebar. And now we just need also to use this chat component which we have created. I will copy that and now add manually my import chat from chat. Let's take this to the top because CSS styles should be at the end. Now it's looking much better. And now make sure that all of the files are being saved. We have chat.js, sidebar.js in the new folders, and we are using these components in our dashboard.js. Let's open our application. And as you see now, we are able to see this sidebar on the left where we will have the chat history and we'll be able to open the new conversation. And here we have this section where we'll have our chat. And that's everything. In the next video, let's start creating our first button to just start a new conversation with our AI. Let's create right now the component which will be this new chat button. Let's go back to our code. In the sidebar folder, we'll create the new file of the name of new chat button.js. Here we'll create the simple functional component as before, and what we would like to have inside. We'll have this main div where we'll assign the class name of the name of new chat button. And now we can also assign on click handler, well, that will be just right now an empty arrow function. Inside of this div, what we would like to have. Here, I would like to have another div, which will be just the container for the icon of the name of new chat button icon, like this. And inside of this div, here it will go, here let's place icon, which we need to add to our application, the icons. And now, when we'll have this icon right here, just under this, next to this icon, we would like to have a paragraph of the name of the class name, which will be the new chat button text. And here what we'll have just this text of the name of new chat. Everything is fine, but we need to place the icon. Let's add right now X and let's see if our new chat button is working correctly. And if yes, we'll add this icon to have the correct icon right here on this button. Now, as you remember, you can also always check the styles if you are interested what we have under this. This is just a simple styling where we just specify the width, the height, the border, which we would like to have the border radius, also some transition to have this nice effect. When we just moving our mouse on this button, we just specifying the color and the margin. There's nothing special which we have right here, some just basic styling to make that button looking like this on the original one on the ChatGPT page. So when we have this new chat button, we can go to our sidebar, and here where we have this sidebar, I'm gonna use this button which we have created, new chat button. Let's make sure that you have this import statement. We are just pointing for this component which we have created right now, and now I open my application and I'm able to see that button of the name here of the new chat. And when I will just mouse over, we have this nice hover effect, but we don't have the icon which we are interested with, and for this we'll need to install the package with the icons, which we'll do it in the next video. We would like to use the icons in our application, and to do it, we'll go and find the package of the name of React icons. When you will just type in the google.com React icons, we'll go to the first page, and here we have this page on the GitHub React icons, and here we can find the command to how to add the icons to our React application. Because I really like this package, because when we'll just go and install this package, we have an access to a lot of icons, SVG icons, which are ready to use from a lot of different categories. And just to use them, we need to stop our application with the Ctrl+C,
And now we just need to install these icons with the command of the name of npm install -- save, because I just wanted to save that information in our package.json file. And as I remember, we just need to go for the React icons. So npm install -- save React icons. So we'll just add a package with the icons to our project, and will be installed in this node modules. Now, when we have that, we can go once again and start our application. npm start. Going back to our application, now we can use these icons right now when we have just installed this package. We'll go and import AI outline plus, that's the icon which we are interested. And I just need to point right now for this React icons package, and here I need to point for the AI, because when we are interested with the icon, for example, let's check like this one, grapple, always we just need to import the icon, grapple for example, and we need to specify this React icons package which we have installed. And here also always we are specifying that second after the slash the rest of the path, and always the rest of the path is just this, that's the beginning just before the icon. When you will go to the different icons, here you will have hi archive box, and as you see you will just import this from hi after the React icons / path. Now, when we have this icon, which we have in our application, we can replace this new chat with this icon, which we are interested with. This new chat will be, we don't want to replace this, we just want to replace this X. And here I will just use this AI outline plus, and here we just need to point for the color white, because I just wanted to specify this, that this icon will be white. Now I will save my application. I'll open this localhost 3000, and as you see now we are able to see that nice plus in our application. And this plus of course is the icon which is coming from this React icons package. So now we have new chat button, and we will be not correcting right now any logic because we just wanted to create our UI, and later on we'll add some logic that if we press this button here we'll be able to see this input and ask the AI with our prompts, with our chat. Let's add right now, after this new chat button, this list items for the, if we will have already created conversation before, we will have the chat history. We just wanted to see this list items with the previous conversations with the AI. How we can do it? In our sidebar folder, we'll create the new file of the name of listitem.js. Here, as before, let's go for the functional component of the name of list item. And what we'd like to have? We'll have a very similar structure which we have right here. So we can even copy that and paste it right here from this new chat button. But now what we have right here, we just don't want to place this in the sidebar, but in this list item. That's my fault. It should go right here. But now we just need to adjust the class names. Here it will be now the new chat button, but here we'll go for the list item. Here I want to go for the list item icon like this, and the color which I would like to specify will be white, but we'll have a different icon. I would like for the chat history, for the conversations, I would like to use the icon of the name of BS chat left, and this coming from the React icons / BS like this. Now BS chat icon will replace this icon. So now we have list item with list icon. This is the container for the icon, and here we have the paragraph which I want to go for list item text like this, and here we'll pass right now right here like history like this to check if that's working. But here we'll be passing some properties to this component, and depends of the properties will be displaying the different text right here. But now just to check if that's working, we can go to our sidebar.js, import this list item from this list item component which we have created, and just under this new chat button, we'll go and we'll use this list item. Let's open our application, and we are able to see right now gently and nicely this list item on our list. Now when we have this, what I want to do with, I just want to render some more list items, but depends of the properties. So when we have our list items, I would like to get the properties on this component. And now on depends of the properties which we are being passed to this component, we can just display different text. And if we'll just get the title from the properties, from the props of this component, here I will just use the curly braces, and here I will pass this title, which is coming from the properties. Now going back to the list item, to the sidebar.js, now we can pass the title of this list item, which should be visible, and let's pass like history 1. We can copy this right now and add some more history list items like test. Let's go track, doesn't matter. Now when we have the 3 list items, it depends of the title which is being passed, we should see a different content. And as you see, it's working as should be. We are able to see 3 list items with the different text. So our list items are ready, and in the next video we can just create the last button, which will be at the bottom, which will be responsible to remove all of the conversations. Let's create the last button of the name of delete conversations button, and we'll do it in this sidebar folder, delete conversations button.js. And here, as before, this will be the functional component. And what we want to do it, let's copy what we have on our list item and paste it right here inside of this div, instead of this div. And now when we have this, we just need to adjust the class names. As you see, the structure of our buttons is very similar. So what we can think about creating one component that depends of the props. It will be rendering the different content, but as this is, I just wanted to show also the basics of the React, and for the simplicity, we're gonna left this as a 3 separate components for now, but later on when we'll have the messages, we'll be using the one component for the different messages, and depends of the props, different content will be rendered. So also we'll see how to create the component that depends of the properties. It will be rendering a different content. But now these buttons, we're gonna left it as it is, as a 3 different components. This list item, new chat button, and delete conversation button. Now, when we have this delete conversation button, we just need to adjust the class names. Here we have the list item, and also I would like to adjust the another class name of the name of delete conversation button, delete conv button. That will be the second class name which I would like to add. Here I will use the same of the name of list item icon. The color will be white, and the list item text, here it will be not accepting the props, but we will have just the simple title of the name of delete conversations like this. Now what we have right here, I think that's everything. We're just missing the icon which we would like to have. We don't want to have the chat icon for the delete conversations, but we would like to have like a bin icon, and we can get this from import AI outline delete, and this will be coming of course from the React icons which we have installed, and we just need to specify for AI like this. Let's take this icon, paste it right here, AI outline delete, and let's check if that will be working as should be on our sidebar.js. First, we need to use it in the sidebar.js file, which will be delete conversation button, which we have created right now. make sure that the import statement was added correctly, or if you don't have this, add this manually. And now let's open our application. Now we are able to see new chat button, all of the list items which are using in our app, we are using these components, and here also we have this button of the name of delete conversation. So our sidebar right now is ready, and the next part of our course we can take care about the chat functionality and this chat UI of our application. We have sidebar section completed with our buttons and the list items, so let's take care right now about the chat section. Going back to our code, we have created before this chat.js component file, and right now we have only the simple div with the class name of the chat container and just simple text of the name of chat. What we want to have what we would like to create at the beginning is just this ChatGPT logo when we have not chosen any conversation. And to do it, let's go to our code, and we can even place this component right here. Just at the top of this chat component, we'll create another component of the name of chat logo. And what we'll have right here we'll just return a div, and inside of this div we'll have the paragraph, and let's just write text by hand of the name of ChatGPT. We need also to assign the class names of the ChatGPT logo container, and here to this paragraph we'll go for the class name of ChatGPT logo. And that's everything what we need for this logo. Of course, you can always check the stylings when you just look for this class name. Here we have this container for this, so it will take all of that available place, and we will just adjust this text of this ChatGPT logo, which we have the font size 50 pixels, font weight and the color, and with the display flex and align items and justify content, we will just place this text at the middle of this container. And going back to this chat.js, right now we can use this component chat logo instead of this chat text like this. Now it should be working perfectly. Let's go back to our application, and now we are able to see this caption of the name of ChatGPT. So this is working perfectly right now, and let's right now work on this chat functionality on the messages and this new message input. Let's add right now two new components. We'll use this logo later on, depends if we'll select any conversation. If the conversation will be not selected, we'll be displaying that logo. So here we need to have the conditional statement right here, but we don't have our logic right now if we have selected chat, so we can use that later on. We know that's working, and that will be placed in the correct, it will be in the correct place, so we are able to leave this right now and come back to this later on. Now let's create the div, which will be just the container for the new message input and the messages. And we'll assign the class name of the name of chat selected container like this. And inside here, I would like to have two components. One will be the messages, which we'll create. And also I would like to have the component of the name of new message input. Of course, we don't have this component, and our application will not start because we need to add the import statement and create these components. In the chat folder, I will create the new file of the name of messages.js. That will be the functional component. And here in this messages.js, we'll just assign the class name to this div. And the class name will be chat messages container like this. And that's everything what we need right now. And also, I would like to create another component in the chat folder. Let's go for the new file of the name of new message input.js, and that will be also the functional component. And going right here, what we'd like to have right here, we'll just assign to this div the class name, and the class name will be new message input container like this. Now when we'll have this, we have created this component. So let's go back to the chat.js, and we need to add the necessary import statements. I want to import the messages from this file which we have created of the name of the messages.js, and we'll do it the same with the new message input, and we'll import that from this file, new message input. Now when we'll go back to our application, we'll be not able to see anything, but when we'll open the developers tab and we'll go for the inspection, when we'll just point for the HTML, we can see we have this container and the second container right here. We have the div with the new message input container class name, and here we have this another div which is the chat messages container. So this is that two components which we have created right now. We can even make that larger, and as you see we have these two divs which we right now created. What we can do it right now, let's go and take care about the new message input in the next video. Let's go right now to this new message input. As the name suggests, we want to have an input right here. And let's add the HTML input right now, which will be just the self-closing. And what we would like to have right here, we'll specify the class name of the name of new message input. Also, I'm interested with the placeholder. What should be visible if we are not typing and not focusing this input? Send a message, maybe type a message, maybe, or let's go as a send a message. Let's go like this. What we are interested with, we are interested with the value. Right now it can be just empty string. Also, we would like to execute the function. We would like to add the even listener. What we would like to do it if the input will change on this input. But now what we want to do it, we'll just pass the empty arrow function like this on change. And also we would like to execute later on the function that on key down, because if the user will press the enter or return, we would like to send the message. Same like with the button. Now we'll have this input. Let's check if we'll be able to see that. And as you see, we have this nice input, and when we'll focus on it, we'll click on it, we have also this nice shadow. Why it's working like this? Because if you will just follow this new message input class name, you can go to the CSS style, and as you see, this is just the basic styles for this input, and also we have the styles for the focus, that if the input is focused, we will be adding this box shadow. Nothing complicated, just basic stylings with the width, height, border radius, border, font size, box shadow, and transition to have this nice animation on hover. Now, when we have this new message, what we are missing? We are missing this icon on the right, which will give us functionality to send the message. And to do it, we just need to, after this input, which we have right here, we'll add another div. And that will be just the container for this icon. So new message icon container, like this. And on click, we'll assign just the function. That right now, let's specify just the empty arrow function, and what we'll have inside, we'll just use the BS send icon, and we'll specify the color of this icon, which will be gray, like this. Of course, we need to add the necessary import statement for this icon. So let's go to the top, we'll go for import BS send, and from where we would like to import this, from React icons BS, because we have this BS at the beginning before the name of the icon. Now let's save this, let's open our application, and I also have this nice hover effect, and I'm able just to see this icon, which will be responsible for sending the messages. So our input is ready. So let's take care right now about the displaying the messages, our messages and the AI messages. Depends on the content, the different styles, different message should be rendered. Let's prepare right now the UI of our messages, our components. And to do it, we'll go to the messages.js. And here we have the container for the messages. And inside of here, we'll have the messages which we would like to display. And to do it, in the chat folder, we'll create the new file of the name of message.js. And that will be the functional component. And what we would like to accept here as the props. As we will be getting the properties to this component, we can always use here the object destruction here directly. And I would like to get from the props content, if this is the AI message, and also if we would like to animate that message. Here we'll have our div, and I would like to assign the class name, and the class name will be message container. And now what I would like to do, I would like to add the conditional statement for the background. That background color will set the background. If this is the AI message, I would like to set color of RGB, and let's set 247, 247, 248. And now, if that will be not AI message, I would like to set just white, like this. Now, if we will pass the property, that's the AI message, the background will be of this color, and if that will be false or will be not provided, the background color will be white. Nothing special right here, just simple conditional statement. We have the style, we have the class name, this is the message container, and we would like to have another container inside of this. We will go for div of the class name of message avatar container, because we'll always also have avatar on our message. And now depends if that will be AI message, I would like to show avatar of the name of FC mind map, that will be the name of it. And if that will be not AI message, but the message from the user, I will go for GR user, like this. Of course, we need to import this icon, so let's do it right now. We'll go for import GR user from React icons GR, and we need to import another icon, which is the FC mind map, and we'll import this from React icons, and we'll be pointing right now for the FC, like this. Now we are able to use these icons because they are imported correctly, and we are missing right now the content of the message. Here we'll add the paragraph tag, paragraph HTML element, and we'll go for the class name of the message text. What we would like to have inside, here we'll just pass the content. We'll work with the animate in the next video to take care about this property, that if that will be true, we would like to animate this message that we'll see letter by letter. But now it looks absolutely fine. So let's use it right now, maybe in the messages.js right here. And I would like to use the message, and I would like to pass the content. So the message, let's go as a hello AI, and we will pass that this is the AI message will be false, like this. As we remember, we have this AI message content and animate. We'll be not passing animate right now. And also let's pass another message with the content of hello, here is AI, and we'll pass the AI message as true, because we want to check if we'll have a different icon and different background color. Of course, we need to import this component of the name of import message from message, like this, from this file which we have created. Everything is being saved, and now let's check if we are able to see that messages. As you see, the user message will have this avatar, and we are able to see that message, and also we have the AI avatar and just the second message, which is hello, here is AI. So now we are able to see that messages. We have components for the messages ready. So what we are missing, I would like right now in the next video add this animation, that if that will be the AI message, I would like to see that letter by letter, that with the same effect we have on the ChatGPT original site. Let's create right now this functionality that the text from the AI will be displayed letter by letter, and we'll create just the custom component where we have this message.js. Here, what I would like to do is just at the top, I will define the component of the name of slow text, and here I will pass some properties. What I would like to have right here, I would like to get the speed from the properties and also the text which should be displayed. Now, when I will be getting this from the props, also I would like to get the placeholder and set placeholder. So that will be just the state of the which we are displaying right now. And we'll go for the use state React hook, where we'll pass the first letter from the text. So that will be initial state. So though if we have a string, we can use the same like this is working with the array. If we'll point for the 0, they will be just pointing for the first letter in this string. So now we'll be going like this. We just need to import the use state, not text, of course. And now when we have this defined this placeholder, also let's define the index, and we'll use the use ref hook, and we'll go like this. Now, when we have this index and also we have this placeholder, let's also import this use reference. And now what we would like to do it here, let's return the span. So we can just place the span in the p tag. So we'll have the original styles, and now we'll pass this placeholder. What will happen? Let's just wrap it, this content right now with this will wrap this content. Let's remove that, and here we will have this paragraph. Here we'll use this slow text, and what we would like to pass right here, let's pass the speed 20, and also we'll pass the text, and we'll be passing this content which we are accepting as a property to this component. And what will happen right now? Let's open. We'll see only one letter because we are passing this text, and the initial state of the placeholder is the first letter of this text, and we are displaying that. And now in the defined interval speed, I would like just to add to this state another letter from this string. How we can do it? We can use for this the use effect hook. And now we will define that we would like to execute the arrow function, depends on the dependencies. Now, of course, we need to import this like with the other hooks. And what would like to do it? First, I would like to define one thing right here. I would like to define here function of the name of tick, and tick will be responsible to add one letter to this placeholder, and this will be refreshed on the screen, and we'll have after the time interval the second letter. I want to just add to index, because to exactly get then access to this value we need to go for index.current, and I just wanted to increment that by 1. And here I would like to go for set placeholder and get the previous value, and now I would like to take the previous value and add another letter to this. So for example, here we have the first letter, so we'll take the first letter and we'll add the another letter because we have increased the index.current. So we'll just increase the index, so we'll go like this. So we'll be able with that add the another letter to this state, and now user will see the another letter. Now we have this tick function, but we need to define when that should be executed. Now, if the index.current is smaller than the length of the text, what we would like to do it? We would like to just define add character, and that will be the interval, and I would like to execute this function like every 20 milliseconds, this speed which we have passed. We're just creating the interval. Now, when we have this add character interval, when we just wanted to clean up this at the end to not have this interval after execution in the memory. So we'll just add in our use effect return statement that we would like to clear interval, and we'll just pass this interval like this. Now, when we have this if statement, it's looking fine, but we just missing the array of the dependencies. Here I would like to pass the placeholder, because if that will change, I would like to execute once again this use effect. Also, it will be depend on the speed, if the speed will change, and also depends on the text. So that will be executed. Now it's looking absolutely fine that if the letter will change, we'll add the new letter. This will change, this value will change. So the use effect will be triggered once again. The new interval will be set. After 20 milliseconds, new letter will be added. Once again, placeholder will be changed. Once again, use effect will be executed, and we'll see another letter. And we'll be not setting the new interval when we'll display all of the letters from this text, because here we are checking if the index, so the amount of the letters which we have displayed, is lower than the text length -1. Now it's looking absolutely fine. Let's open our application. Let's refresh that like this, localhost 3000, and as you see, we are able to see this animation that this text is being written letter by letter. It's going fast, so for now let's change for a while from 2 to maybe 80, so we'll have possibility to see that much better. And now, as you see, we have this nice effect that we are able to see letter by letter. We'll change that for 20. Now I'm very happy what I'm seeing with that, but here we'll be only displaying this slow text if this animate property, which we are accepting as a props to this component, and depends if that will be animate will be true. I wanted to display this as this component slow text, and if not, we will just display the text. Going to the messages, here we will pass that hello AI will be not animated, but this second we will pass the animate props. And now that will be true when we are passing this like this. And now when we will refresh, only this we should only see the animation only for this message. So now the animation is working perfectly. Our UI is completed. So in the next part of our course, we can start connecting some logic. In this part of the course, we'll start creating our server side. But first, let's understand what we would like to achieve in our application at the end. What we have the client, the React application which we have created right now. Here we have the server, the Express application with SocketIO server which we'll create, and here we have this OpenAI API which will be asking to generate us the response depends of the user message. And here we have all the flow which we would like to have in our application. Let's check what we need to achieve. Here we have the user. Let's try to imagine that this star is the user, that's us, and we are typing the message, hello AI. What will happen right now? Of course, this message will be displayed on the React side on the client application, and now this message will be sent to the server side. So that's the reason why we have this number 1 right here. Now, what will server do with that message? The server is receiving the message, and server will save this message in the store, because we'll have the server store because when we'll open once again application on the same browser, so we'll have the same session ID, we would like to have a chat history. So first we'll save this message in the server store, and as soon as we'll save that, we'll send request to OpenAI API with the user message, this message which was typed by the user. The request will go to the OpenAI API, and the AI will generate the response, and as soon as this response will be ready, it will be returned back to our server. So here we have this number 4, the AI response is coming to our server side, so server already know the response for this what user typed, but first, before we'll send that to the user, we want to save this message in our server store, because later on when we will fetch the chat history, we want to also see the previous messages generated by AI. And as soon as we'll get that message, we'll be saving that in the store and we'll be returning this AI response to the client, and it will be displayed on the screen, and the new message will be appended in that messages component on that screen. Now, as you see, we have some part of the real-time communication right here. We are sending the messages, and as soon as the message will be ready and we'll have that response from the OpenAI API on the server side, we want to send that immediately to the client side. How we can achieve that? It can be a little tricky with the HTTP requests, because how can server just send that message to the client as soon as he will receive that message? And for that, we will be using the SocketIO server. What is the SocketIO server? SocketIO server is it's built at the top of the WebSockets, and it allows us for the low latency, bidirectional and event-based communication between a client and the server. And as you see, we have this client right here. We have server side on the right. And how is it working? In the simplest way, just what we need to know, we will be implementing that from zero, so we'll be going from step by step, so don't be worried about that if you don't have a previous experience with SocketIO. Also, on my channel, you can find also the SocketIO course for the beginners, because in the most of my courses with the video chats, with the map and the collaborative whiteboard, I'm always using the SocketIO because it's working very nice. And now, what can client do with? The SocketIO is based on the events. So we can create at the server side listener, for example, for the chat message, and client can emit an event of the name of the chat message. And this message will go immediately to the server side. And as soon as the server will have the response, he can emit an event to the client, because client also can register the event listeners, and he will receive the event listener, for example, for the chat message. And as soon as server will emit that event, client will receive that immediately. So it's working like the bidirectional communication for the both sides. When it's going to the HTTP requests, client is doing the HTTP request to the server side, and the server side is responding back. But now client doesn't need to ask anything. Server can send in every moment message straight to the client, and client will be able to handle that. And this will give us this real-time communication which we need in our application, because as soon as we'll have the AI message, we want to respond back to the client. And now we'll start creating our Express application, and we'll connect that with the SocketIO server. When we'll implement our SocketIO server, we'll connect to it from the React application. We'll be doing that step by step, don't worry, that will be quite easy. You just need to follow the code. I will be explaining everything. So let's start doing that in the next video. Let's create right now our server, and how we can do it. We have this folder, and the name of the folder where I have my application on the desktop is ChatGPT/Udemy. Now I will create here a new folder of the name of server. Here I have this ChatGPT, that's my React application, and here I will have the folder for the server. I will open the terminal. Right now my React application is stopped, and now I will just go to the folder which I have created, change directory server, and here I will initialize the Node.js project with the no npm in it. I will be asked several things like the package name, version, description, entry point, test command, git repository, keywords, author, license. You can just go fill it if you want, but I will just go with the default values. So we just go in enter, enter, and enter. Now, as you see, when we will open this folder right now in our code editor, I will go for the VS Code. And before I was just opening the React application. Now I would like to open the folder on the desktop of the name of ChatGPT Udemy, but it will be containing the React application and the server-side application. As you see, the package.json in the server folder was generated, and now we can install the necessary dependencies and create our index.js file of our server. Let's create right now index.js, and that will be our server, because it must be in the server folder, because this is the starting point. As you see, the main in the package.json, the index.js is defined, so it will be starting from this file. Now, when we have this index.js and we have package.json, we can install the necessary dependencies which we'll need on our server side. So we'll go for the npm install --save, and I want to install the cores to just configure the cores of our application. Do not have a problem with that, because that would be, we have a client and server side application at different origin. Now, also the .env, because we'll be keeping our secret to AI API later on in the env file. Also, I'm interested about Express, just Express application. We'll go also for OpenAI, which we'll be using later on. And we'll go for the SocketIO, because as you remember, we will be using the SocketIO as our WebSocket server for the real-time communication. And we'll go for the UUID, because we will need to generate ID for the specific things. Let's go and install all of that. We just need to wait a while when all of that will be installed. After the application will be successful, we should see the information that the packages has been added, and now in our package.json file we'll have these dependencies here on the dependencies list. Going to the index.js, let's create simple Express application. And how we can do it? We just need to get the Express from and require this from this package which we have installed of the name of Express. Also, I would like to get HTTP from the package which is built in the Node, and it's coming with the Node.js installation. Also, I would like to get cores, which will be require cores. And also, I'm interested with the SocketIO server, but we'll add this in the next video. So what we want to do it right now, let's define the Express application. So we'll just use this Express, which we have imported, and just assign this to the app constant variable. And now we'll create the server. The server we will just create HTTP server, and we'll execute the method of the name of create server. And here we'll pass this Express application. Also, with the Express we can register the middlewares, and here we'll register the cores middleware that will be able to connect from our React application, will not have an origin problems. Now, also let's define the first endpoint to see if our server will be working. So just under the name of the origin where our server will be located, so we're just defining the slash. What I would like to get, I would like to get the request, because in the Express we are getting the request and response object, which allow us to send the response back to the user. So if anyone just type the address of our server, I would like just to send information, hello, server is working. When we'll be able to see that information, that will be just information for us that our server is working. Now, we need to define the port under which port our server should be working. So we can define the process env port, and here we'll go for the port which will be provided by the hosting provider when we'll host our application. And also, if that will be not provided, because for example that will be our local environment, we will just define this as a 5000. How we can start our server? Now we just need to go for the server listen at this port which is provided by the hosting provider, or that will be this 5000. And now I just want to log console log, and here right now app started. Let's go for the backticks, and we'll go for app started listening at port, and here we just specify the port number which we have right here. So this is our simple Express server. Let's save this. And how we can start this? We can start this with the command node index.js. Just remember to be at the level of the server folder. Now going back to our browser, here we have the localhost 3000, and now I'll go for the localhost 5000, and I'm seeing the information hello server is working. So that's information for us that our server is working, and in the next video we can add the SocketIO server, connect our Express server with our SocketIO server. Let's add right now the folder in our server folder of the name of src, of the source. And inside of this source, I would like to create a new file of the name, which will be the socket server. We'll keep our socket server code separately from the index.js, but here we will just register this socket server. What we'd like to do it right here. Here I would like to define the function of the name of register socket server, and here it will be accepting this server which we are creating in the index.js, exactly this one, because we want to just attach to this server also the socket server instance. Now, when we will have this like this, how we can create our SocketIO server with the code? We need to get the server object from this package which we have installed, which is the SocketIO. Now, when we have that, what we can do it right now? We can define a IO, so that will be the instance of our SocketIO server, and here we'll just define the new server, this one which we have imported, and here we'll be passing this server which we are accepting as the parameter to this function. And now we just need to define some configuration, and to also avoid the coarse problems that will be connecting from the different origin. Here we just need to specify the coarse rules that will be accepting the connections from every origin. And now also we'll pass the methods accepted, and here we'll go for the get and post. It's just the simple configuration of the coarse rules that will be able to connect from everywhere to our SocketIO server. Of course, in the production mode, it should be specified who will be connecting, but now at the development time on our local machine is absolutely fine. Now we can just, as you remember, define the events on our SocketIO server. Here we'll define only one event of the name of IO on connection. And what will give us that if any user will connect to our SocketIO server from the React application, we'll have this bidirectional connection which is active, and we can log the information that user connected like this. Now we can even pass the ID of this user which will be connecting to the SocketIO server. So user connected, and here we can pass the ID which will be socket.id. Like this. And now that's everything what we have, how we can register our socket server. And what we would like to do it right now, we would like to export this as the module exports, and I would like to export from this file this register socket server function. Let's go back right now to the index.js, and here I just wanna to use it. How I can do it? I just need to require this as the socket server, and I would like to go for require and point for the source folder, and here we'll be pointing for the socket server. And now where we would like to execute that, here when we are creating this Express application, just after connecting our HTTP server with that Express application, now we'll also go and use the socket server dot register socket server, and we'll pass this server which we have created right here. And now all this IO server also will be attached to our server which we have right here. And now when the server will be started, also our SocketIO instance at the server side will be working. Now we can check it with the Postman, which we'll do it in the next video. This is absolutely optional. I will just show you how we can test the connection with our SocketIO server with the Postman. We'll be doing only that once, because later on we'll be just testing directly our application from our React side, because at the next part we'll be creating the connecting SocketIO at React application at client side, and then we'll be just wanna connecting to our server side, which we have created. Just restart the server to make sure that's working, because we don't have a node daemon which is watching for the changes, because I just wanna keep restarting server manually after I will make some changes. So now I know that the app started successfully, but for now I don't know if my Socket server is working correctly, but we'll check that in the next video. Now I will test my SocketIO server with the Postman, which is optional, because also we'll be checking that when we'll attach the SocketIO connection at our React side. But if you have the Postman or if you want to learn how is it working, we can do it together. So what I need to do I need to start my Postman application. If you don't have this, you can go and just find this on the internet. And the Postman is just application to test HTTP requests, and not only HTTP requests of our server side, but we have several more options. I will go for home. Here I will go for the file, and I will just point for new. And now what I would like to do it, once again I will go for new tab exactly, because I'm interested with. And what we have right here, we just want to send a request. We don't want to send a request, it's fine. And I just wanted to go for file new, and now this is the screen which I just want to achieve, but that was not working at the beginning. I wanted to get that screen because I wanted to choose the WebSocket request. Test and debug your WebSocket connections. We know that we are using SocketIO, which is built at the top of the WebSocket and is a little different comparing to the WebSocket, but we'll be choosing this one. And now when we are choosing this one, we can see here that we have SocketIO, which we are interested with. And now what we can do here we can specify the server URL. So we know that our Socket server is listening at the which port? At the port 5000. So I think if I will go for http://localhost 5000, now if I will go and here go for the connect, I'm able to see that connected to HTTP localhost 5000. And you see here, we are able to see, I just close that, connected. So we are able to see right now the connection details that we are connected to our SocketIO server. Now we have that bidirectional communication between the client in the Postman and our server side. But as you see, let's check. As you see, you have user connected. Now we are connected, and now when we'll stop our server, you see that we are automatically disconnected because we have this connection active. So if we'll disconnect from the Postman, or we'll close Postman, or we will stop our server, this connection will be broken and we will be disconnected. Now when our server is not started and we'll try to connect once again, you see we are getting the error connection refused. We are not able to connect to our server. So we know that our server is working because when our app is started and we are connecting with the Postman under this address and this port which we have specified, we are able to see information that we have successfully connected to our Socket server. So that's everything with the part of the Postman. And now we will take care about the React application to add the necessary logic to establish the same direct connection which we have achieved from the Postman. Our SocketIO server is working, and what we want to do right now, we just wanted to test the connection from the React application. And to do it, we need to go to the folder where we have installed our React application. We'll leave the server started under this port 5000. And now let's find once again this folder with our application. In my case, I have this exactly on the desktop. And now I have this ChatGPT Udemy, and here I have the client application of the name of ChatGPT. And here this is my React application. And in my React application, I need to do it one thing to connect with our SocketIO server. We need to go and install npm install socket-save, and we'll go for the SocketIO-client. That we at the server side we have installed the SocketIO, and he will just install like the not all of the functionalities, but just for the client side. So we'll just go for the SocketIO client. This is the package which is existing, and it will allow us to connect with the SocketIO server. Now, when the installation will be completed, we'll go to the source folder of our React application, and I will create the new folder of the name of SocketCon, or the socket connection, like this. And inside of this folder, what I would like to do it, let's create the new file of the name of socketcon.js. And here we'll define the function which will allow us to connect with the SocketIO server. Export const connect with socket server. We can define the name of this like this, and that will be just an arrow function. And what we'll have right here, here we just need to import the IO, import IO, and we'll be just pointing for this package which we have installed. So that will be socket.io client, like this. Now when we have this, we will go for the socket, and we'll just execute this IO which we have imported. And this must be in the curly braces because that's not the default export. And now we'll point for this IO, and here we need to specify the address of our socket server. So we know that that will be localhost 5000, like this, because we know that as the same with the Postman, we know that here this is our SocketIO server instance, and now that will be everything. When we'll execute this passing the address of the server side, now it should be working. But here also at the client side, we can listen if we have successfully connected with the SocketIO server. So if we successfully connected with the SocketIO server, I just wanted to log that console log successfully, or not just connected with SocketIO server, and let's also log the ID, and we'll just log the socket ID, because the socket ID at the client side and at the server side should be the same, because we have this bidirectional connection and we have one socket object which is connected at the client side and the server side, so that this connection should have the same ID. Now, how we can check this? Also, of course, we need to execute that, and where that will be the good place to do it? I think we can go to the app.js, and here we'll just import, just before this dashboard, I will import the use effect from React. Now, when we'll have this use effect, what I want to do it, here when we have this defined the function of the name of app, I would like to execute the use effect like this, and that will be an arrow function. Here we'll pass the empty array of the dependencies, so that this will be executed only once. And here I would like to execute this function which we have created of the name connect with socket server, like this. There is a situation that sometimes when we are just starting our React application and we have single application, but we have a double connection with the SocketIO server, and to avoid this, let's go to the index.js and remove that strict mode which we have right here. Let's save it right now, and now we would like to render only the app, and in the app we have our connect with socket server function. How we can check if that's working? Here, just make sure that you have the separate terminal or command prompt with your server started. Now I will start my React application with the npm start. Now we just need to wait when the application will be started. And now I will go for the Chrome browser. I will open the developers tab. Let's go for the console. Fail to load the resource. That's the just icon, so we should not take care about this error because it's not even created by us. But now let's go for the localhost 3000. And we have an error that the socket is not defined in the socket connection. So let's go back to our code, to the socket connection. And as you see, we are assigning to the socket this IO. And just before, we need to specify this variable define this as the let socket. We know that it will be changing over time because here we'll have the new assignment, so we will be not using the const but let. And now that should be fine when we'll refresh our application, localhost 3000, and as you see, we are getting the information connected with SocketIO server. Here we are seeing the client socket ID, but when I will open the terminal from the server side, I'm able to see the information that the user connected, and this ID is the same as this ID which we have at the React side. So now the bidirectional connection is established. Even in the network tab, we have also the same situation, that we have this WS information, and this is also the information about the SocketIO connection, that we are connected with the SocketIO. Now, this is everything what we need. So we have the direct connection with the server side. So what we can take care, we can start working with the first events, because what we are interested to do within our application, as you remember, we are able right now to start implementing the flow. We have server ready. So I think we'll start with the number 1, that the user is typing the message. We should see this message on our local screen, so we need to do it some work at our React side to just keeping these messages and rendering the real messages. And later on, we'll go through the every next step and implementing this step by step. When we are working with the SocketIO server, sometimes it's hard just to prepare at the beginning just the server side and later on the client side. So we'll be working in that's the reason why we have 2 applications open in the one folder, because we'll be working at the React side. In the next video, we'll be handling the event which we are sending to the Socket server at the server side, and we'll be mixing our work. We will be not splitting that exactly like in the other courses, that we have the front-end part and the back-end part. We'll be, as a full-stack developer, sometimes we are working at the same time at the front-end side and the server side, and we'll be doing the same right here. So in the next video, we'll start implementing our flow, which we have right here on the screen. Let's handle right now sending message to the server side, which we'll type right here. And as you see, the typing is not even working right now because we need to connect the necessary logic to this input which we have created. And now what we would like to achieve, when we'll type the message and we'll press enter, I would like to see here on the left the real conversation that we have started with the text from the first message, and I would like to append this real message which I will send to the server side. So that's the first part which I would like to create, and the second part here will be just to handle that message at the server side and save this in the server store. That's the first thing which we would like to do it right now. And to achieve that, we need to go to our application, and in our React app, we have created before in the chat folder the new message input. What we have right here, we have only the empty string as a value. We don't have the event listeners connected. We have even, but they are doing nothing because we have empty arrow functions. So now we'll connect the necessary logic. What we need here in the new message input file, we need, of course, the use state, because in the state we'll be keeping just the state of this value which we have in this input. So we'll just use this as the const, and we'll define here the content, and we'll go for the set content, and we'll point for the use state, and that will be the initial value, that the value of this input will be this content. And now what we'd like to do it on change. On change, we'll just get the event, because when we'll just event listener will be, when we'll get that event listener on the change, so the value on the input will change. This one will be listening for that event, and now we'll receive that. This event will be triggered, and now we'll have this event. And what we would like to do it, we would like to take this set content, which is just the setter from this useState hook, and we'll point for event target value, like this. Now our input should be working, because when we'll be typing, the content will be changing and the value should be updated on the input. Let's go back to our app. I will start typing right now, and as you see right now, I'm able to see the letters. So that's great. That's the first thing which we would like to achieve. What's next? Now we are able to handle the value which we have, but also we want to do it something with that message. So we need to prepare the function of the name of proceed with the proceed message, and that function will be responsible to add this message to that we will be able to see that message on our local screen, on our local application. And also we'll pass this further just to send that to the server side. What we can get the information, we can prepare the message object, and what we'll have right here, we know that will be not the AI message, because this is not the response from our OpenAI API. We can specify the content of the message, and we know that the content will be this one which we have in our state. We'll pass the ID of the message, and we'll go for UUID, which we need to install because we have not installed this at the React side, but we have installed this only at the server side. But I would like to specify the ID of the message also in the message object. And here we'll pass if we would like to animate, and we'll pass false because we don't want to animate this because it's also not the AI message and this is not the last message. So this is just our object which we'll be sending to the server side. And to make that working, we need to install this at the React side. So just stop the React application, and in the folder where we have React application, we'll go for npm install --save, and we'll go for UUID like this. Now we just need to wait a while. When that will be started, we can go with the npm start once again to start our application. And now when that will be started, we just need to add the necessary import statement. To execute this function, we need to go for the import v4 as UUID, and this is the alias that instead using this name will be using this name, but we are importing that v4. And now we'll go for the from UUID, this package which we have installed. So now this is the object which we would like to send to the server side with the message, but we need to do it two things when we want to proceed with the chat message. Append this message to our local store, which we have not defined, and we'll be using for this Redux to share the state of our application across all of the components. And also I would like to send the message to the server. So if this proceed chat message will be executed, this will be attached to our local store and also sent to message to the server side. At the end, we just wanted to reset the value of the input, and that will be very easy. We'll just set content as the empty string like this. And we need to just have a possibility to execute this function because we are not executing this anywhere. And what we can do it, we can just add the handle send message, and that will be an arrow function where we'll be checking if the content length, that if this is not the empty message, we don't want to send the empty messages to the server side and ask our AI about the empty string. It doesn't make sense. And if the length of this text which is in this input will be larger than 0, we would like to proceed the proceed message like this. We can take this handle send message and assign this on this. Here we have this div new message icon container, and here I would like to assign this on this click handler. Now when we have this, also when I will press the enter or return, also I would like to do it the same thing. So we need to define the handle key pressed, and now we can get the event which will pass to this, which will receive when this event will be triggered. And now we can check the event code, and if event code will be enter, and we will check the same thing as we have been checking when we are pressing the button, if the length of the content, so the text which we have in our state, we would like to proceed the message. And we will take this handler, handle key pressed, and we'll assign this here on key down. We don't need to pass the event because when we are not accepting any parameters, it will be passed automatically here to our handler. Now it's looking fine, so we can what we can test right now, we can log the message, console log message, and when we'll just proceed our chat message, the value of the input should be reset. So now we'll open just the developers tab. Let's go for the console. Let's start our application, and now we'll just type test. I will press the button with my mouse, and as you see, the value was now it's being cleared, and now once again is set for the empty string. So we'll see once again the placeholder, and I'm able seeing this object with the message that if this is the AI message, if we should animate this, here we have the content and we have also the ID. Let's go for the test number 2. Now we'll just press enter, and here this is the same situation that right now value is once again the empty string, and now I'm seeing this object but now with the content test 2. So we know that our logic right now is being executed of the proceed message. So in the next video we can take care about appending this message to our local store, but just before we'll be doing that, we need to add the Redux to our application. Now we are able just to log this message, and we would like to append this message on our local store. And how we can do it? We have this new message input right here, and we would like to pass this here in the messages as the message we'll create for every single message the message component. What we can do it? We can define at the top of our chat just the use state, which will be keeping the state of all of the messages, pass this to the new message input that when we'll send the message, we'll update our state of the messages, we'll pass this right here, and we'll be able to render that. That's the correct solution with the hooks or the use reducer or the use context even, which we can use also in our React application. But what will happen if I want to just append this message and also have an access to this message, for example, in the socket connection file? And when we will be using hooks, I will be not able to do it. So we need to have like the global system which will be keeping the state of our application, and for that I will choose the Redux. Redux is the state container for JavaScript apps and is absolutely working perfectly with the React, and there is several shortcuts where we are just defining the logic, and I will show you how the Redux is working, and we'll just start implementing adding this to our application from zero. So, and we'll have like the global store where we'll be able to access to the store of our application in every single file, and if anything will be updated in our store, also the components will be re-rendered if that will be depending on the content which we have in our store. And to do it, we need to stop our React application. And here, if we are at the level of our React application, we'll go for npm install --save, and I want to go for React Redux, and also I will go for the Redux.js/toolkit. That's the two things which we need. Let's go for, just remember to add at the beginning, just before Redux.js without dot, and now we'll go just for the installation of this. We just need to wait a while when that will be installed correctly, and now when we have that, we can start our application once again. The application will be starting, and now I'm going back to the code. Now let's connect our application. Let's add this Redux store to our application, and to do it, we'll need to do it two things. In the source folder, we'll create the new file of the name of store.js, and here we just need to configure the store of our application. Here we'll go for the we just need to import the configure store, and it will be going from this Redux toolkit which we have installed, and now we'll just export const configure store, and here we'll have the object, and here we just need to define the reducer of our application. And as you remember, when we have the hooks in React of the name of the use reducer, it's using the similar content like we have the reducers, and here we just need to pass the reducer of which of our application, the state. And now what we'll have only one reducer of the name of dashboard reducer. It's not created right now, but we'll just use it right now. We just need to go like this. Here we have the information that export const. Here we just missing define the name, and now we just need to define store, but now it will be not working right now because we don't have the dashboard reducer created. And let's create this reducer in the dashboard folder. I will go for the new file of the name of dashboard slice.js right here, just under the dashboard. Now I will import the function of the name of create slice, and this will be coming from the Redux.js toolkit. Now, when we'll have this import, we'll define the initial state of our application in this reducer. We can have multiple reducer, multiple slices where we'll keep several values, and we can split our store state by several reducers, because here we are just combining the reducers, but we'll have only one which will be just in the dashboard slice. And now what we would like to have right here, the initial state of our application should have the information if the session is established, and that will be just needed that if we will connect with the SocketIO server and we'll get our chat history later on, we'll change this for true, because if the session will be not established, we'll be just showing the loading spinner that we are fetching the details about the chat history and the session. Also, I would like to have here the conversations like this, and also what we are missing, the selected conversation ID like this, and that will be null. That will be the initial state of our application. If we'll select any conversation, here we'll be just setting the ID right here. If we have any conversations before with our AI message, the initial state of our application will be empty array, and if the session is established at the beginning, that will be false. Now let's define this dashboard slice, and we'll execute this function which we have imported of the name of create slice. Here we just need to pass the name of this slice, and that will be the dashboard. Later on, I will show you where this name will be visible with the Redux toolkit. And here we'll pass this initial state. And now we can define the actions, the reducers, which will be responsible to changing store state. Let's go and just define right now only the one action. Maybe we can go for, we will just keep it empty right now because we don't have any actions. We don't want to have any actions right now. And now what we need to do it, we just need to export the reducer, because as you remember, we are importing the dashboard reducer in our store file, and we'll go for the export default dashboard slice.reducer, because before in the Redux we have been creating the reducers and the actions manually, but with the Redux toolkit we have some functionalities like the create slice that we can make several things much faster. Here we're just defining the initial state, here we are creating the slice, and also we are already receiving the reducer thanks to this toolkit. Now when we have this dashboard slice, we can go right now to the store.js, and here I would like to import this, import dashboard reducer, which we have right here, and we'll be importing this from this folder of the name of dashboard, and here we'll just we will point for this dashboard slice like this. Now it should be working. Here I have just not saved something, but it's looking fine. We have our dashboard slice and we have our store. That's fine, but this is not connected still with our application, because with this we have in the two separate files, we have our slice and we have our store.js, and now we need to connect this store to our React application. And how we can do it? We can do it that in the simple, very simple. We'll go to the index.js, and here we just need to import the provider. We need to import the provider from React Redux, like this. And now when we'll have this provider, we'll wrap this app component right now. I will just cut it right now. And I will wrap this with the provider and paste it this application. And here to this provider, I will pass the store property as the store, this one which we have created, this store. And this store will be coming from this file which we have created before. And now everything should be fine. Let's check if our application will be working right now, localhost 3000. And how I can get information if our store is working correctly. Here in the Google Chrome, we can install the additional toolkit. We will be Redux toolkit, and we can go for Chrome. And first we'll have that Redux DevTools. And now I highly suggest to use Chrome application and install this Redux DevTools, because it will allow us to inspect the values which we have in our store and also the actions which will dispatch, which will be responsible to change our store state. Now it will be available at the developers tab under here where we have this Redux. And as you see, now I'm able to see the dashboard. So this is the name which we have specified in the slice, which we have right here. So now I'm able to see that values which we have set in this slice. And now we have session established, conversations, and selected conversation ID. Now we have successfully connected Redux to our React application. And you know what's the best part? When now we'll have access to these values, for example, when we'll send the message right now, we'll add this message to the conversations. We'll get these conversations in the messages component. We'll be able to display these messages, because if the store state will change, also the component will be re-rendered, which is watching this state, which is basing on the state. And also I will have an access to this state in the every level of our application. For example, if I will need some values in the socket connection.js folder, I can just import this store object and get the necessary values from the store state, and even change the store state from the level, not from the React component, but from everywhere. But we'll see how to change the store state, how to dispatch the actions in the next videos, when we'll be just continuing with our logic. So if you are right now a little confused how is it working, don't worry, we just connected like the basic Redux to our app, and later on I will show you how it's changing the store state and how we are watching for the changes in that store and just re-rendering our React application. We have added Redux to our project, so what we can do we can start connecting our logic to send the message to the server side and display the real message. The first thing which we would like to do in the messages.js, here we have these two dummy messages which we have on the screen, which are visible right here. And we will be just removing that messages, because we'll right now take care about the real messages. So let's remove that right now, and we'll come back to this file later on. And also what we have as a dummy list also here in the sidebar.js, we have added the free list items, and I would like to delete them. So just in the sidebar component, we'll just remove this list items. Now we have clear state of our application. And what we would like to do at the beginning. Here we have this new message input, but if we will not press the new chat, that should be not visible, only if we will select a conversation, that it will select the new conversation. And how we can achieve that? We will go to the chat.js, and here we have this chat logo which we are not using. And I think we should display these messages and this new message input if our selected conversation AID will be different than null in our store. And how we can achieve that? We can achieve that very simple, that we can do it this like, we'll just change the store value, selected conversation ID, if you will press this button. And still, that will be the empty conversation if that will be new chat. So we'll set select conversation ID as new. And if we will send one message, we'll assign the ID to this conversation. And to do it, what we need to do it? Let's go to the dashboard slice, and here I would like to define the actions in the reducers. And the first action which we would like to do it, we would like to create the action which will be responsible to setting this field of the selected conversation ID. We will go right now for set selected conversation ID, like this. And here we'll be accepting the state, previous state, and here we'll be accepting the action which was dispatched. Now I would like to change the state selected conversation ID and assign this which will pass to this dispatched action. We'll check the flow, how is it working when we'll be just dispatching this action. And where I would like to use it, just before we'll just leave this file, also we need to export this action which we have created. So now we need to point for this set selected conversation ID, and we would like to export this from the dashboard slice dot reducer. Not the dashboard slice reducer, but dashboard slice actions, because this is the action which we have defined. Now, when we are able to export this action, we would like to dispatch this action in the sidebar, in the new chat button. Let's right now accept in the new chat button from the props, we'll be accepting right here the handle set selected chat. And now when we'll be getting that from the props, we'll create here the handler of the name handle choose new chat. And now that will be an arrow function, and we would like to execute this function which will pass right here to this new chat button as a property. And we'll just go as new, because that will be the empty conversation without the messages. And if that will be no messages, we just don't want to assign the ID, but we'll just set this as new. And we'll take this handler, handle choose new chat, and we'll just assign this right here on this on-click handler, where we are using this new chat button because we need to pass this property, handle set selected chat. In the new chat button, we are using in the sidebar. And here we would like to create this function in the sidebar, and that will be handle set const. Let's go and define this, which was exactly in the new chat button, handle set selected chat. Let's go back, handle set selected chat. And how we can define this to set this in our store? We need to get a hook from the React Redux of the name of use dispatch, because use dispatch allow us to change the store state of our Redux. Now when we'll have this use dispatch, we can get this as const dispatch, and we will just get that dispatch object from the use dispatch function from the use dispatch hook. And now I would like to handle set selected chat. Here we'll be accepting the ID, and here I would like to do it one thing, and that will be just dispatch. We'll dispatch the action, which is the set selected conversation ID, which is coming from the dashboard slice, and here we will pass this ID like this. Now we can do it, take this and pass this to the new chat button. Now the new chat button will be able to change our store state if we will press that plus button. We can check if that will be working and what's the flow of our Redux. and how we are changing our store state. So now we have this dashboard, and here we have this selected conversation ID as null. Now we are pressing the button, and as you see, we just dispatched the action of the name of dashboard, set selected conversation ID. And now when we will check the store state, we are able to see that the selected conversation ID is new. And how is it working? Here in the new chat button, we are just executing this handler of the name handle set selected chat and passing the new as a parameter. Going to the sidebar, here we are dispatching the action, and this set selected conversation ID is coming from the dashboard slice, is this one, and you can check that we are passing this ID. And when we are passing this ID, we will be able to get this ID from the action.payload. This is the initial state, but this state can be changed in our application when we're just running this over time. And now we'll be getting the actual state, that every action will be getting the actual state from the state, which we have right here. And now we'll be able to get an access to that parameters which we have passed from the action.payload. And now we are just changing in our store state that selected conversation ID should be this one which we have passed. And that's everything. This is how the Redux is working, and the reduces. We just need to dispatch the actions which we have defined, and we need to define in these actions how the state should be changed. Depends on the parameters, or it doesn't need to have the parameters. We can always change the store state, depends just on the action which was dispatched. And that's everything. So now we are able to set selected conversation ID as new, and when that will be changed from null to new, we just wanted to display this new message input. And to do it, we'll go to the chat.js, and how I can get this selected conversation ID. We can get this, and we just need to import use selector, because that's the hook from React Redux, which will allow us to get an access to our store values. So React Redux. Now, when we will have this selector, we can go in our chat component and get this selected conversation ID. And how we can do it? We'll just execute this hook use selector, and this use selector will give us back the state of our application, and we'll go for state. We know that the name of our reducer of our slice is dashboard, and now we just need to point for this value from our store, which is selected conversation ID. Now it can be null, but later on when we will press this new chat button, it will be changed for it will be null, and that will be changed for new. So that will be different than null, and we can just display this. So here we just need to add the simple conditional that in the chat container, what we will do it? We'll do it this like this. Here, let's go for the curly braces, and now we'll check if the selected conversation ID is not set. So that will be null. I would like to render the chat logo, which we have created before. And now, if the selected conversation will be chosen, I would like to render this. So I will just for the braces and paste it right here inside. Just auto save for auto formatting, and that's everything. Selected conversation ID is not chosen, so we'll be just rendering the chat logo. And if that will be chosen, if that will be we will go for the messages and new message input with this container. Let's go refresh our application. Let's check the store state. Here we have the state, action, initial state. Here we have the dashboard, selected conversation ID is null. I will press this button, and as you see, logo disappeared, because when we just want to check the actual state, we need to choose the last action. And now we are seeing that the selected conversation ID is new, and now we are able to see this new message input. When we'll just once again refresh our application, now once again we need to go for the new chat to see this new message input. Now, when that's working as should be, we can go and add this message which will type to our store state and display this message on the screen. Let's go back right now to our new message input component. And here what we want to do, we want to append this message to our local store. And how we can do it? First, what I would like to do it, I would like to get this selected conversation ID from our store. And to do it, we need to go and import the use selector from React Redux. And as before, in the similar way, we can go for selected conversation ID, and we'll just use this use selector hook, where we'll receive the state of our application, and I will point for the state dashboard.selected conversation ID, like this. Now, when we'll be able to get an access to this, here I would like to proceed the chat message. First, let's find the conversation ID, const, because now we'll be sending the first message, so we should assign the new conversation ID. And that will be conversation ID. And here we'll be checking if the selected conversation ID is new. I would like to assign the new ID with the UUID. We just need to add the necessary import, which we have before, because we are creating the ID for the message, so that's fine. And if not, I would like to point for the selected conversation ID, because as you know, when we have our application, when we'll have the old conversation and we'll press one of the old conversations, the selected conversation ID will be not new, but this ID of this conversation which we have chosen. And now it will be just pointing for this if that's the one of the previous conversations. And if that's new, we'll be assigning the new ID. So we will have the conversation ID, and what we would like to do it, we would like to add this message to our store, to our conversations right here. And how we can do it? We just need to define the new action, which will be of the name of the add message. So let's add this action right now, right here, add message, and we'll be accepting the state and the action, and from the action we'll be able to get this new message object. And now what we should to get, we'll be getting from this payload, we'll pass the object with the message and the conversation ID. And we'll be getting this from the action.payload, because as you remember, we can pass to the dispatched action the payload, and we can get access to it from the action.payload. Now we have conversations, and that's the empty array, but later on when we'll be starting our application, the old conversations will be fetched from the server side. But now try to imagine that we have already conversation which was created, so we need to find if there is a conversation of this specific ID in our array of the conversations. Let's go for const conversation, and we'll be looking for state conversations find, and I will be looking for the conversation, that the conversation ID will be this ID of this conversation ID, like this. Now, if this conversation will exist, so that was, for example, the previous conversations from our previous session that we have been asking the AI, we just wanted to push the new message. If conversation, we should go like this exactly. If conversation, we just want to push it, conversation.messages.push, and here we will just push this message like this. Now, that was the scenario if the conversation already exists. And what happened if that not exists? Because now we have the new, this is the new conversation, so that will be not existing. So we need to add the additional statement right here, that what we would like to do it if the conversation does not exist. We'll go for state.conversations. So we'll take this array which we have right here, and now we'll just push the new conversation. We'll push the new conversation, and what we'll have in this conversation, we'll push the ID of this new conversation, which we are passing right here to this action, which is conversation ID. And now we'll push the messages, and the messages will be array. That will be the array, and here we'll pass this new first message like this. Of course, we need to add this add message and export this from the dashboard slice.actions. Now, our reducer is ready to add the message to our conversations right here. And now we just need to dispatch this action. So let's go to the new message input. And here we have this use selector, and now I will point for the I will get the use dispatch from the React Redux, and same as before, I will get the dispatch function, and I will be getting that from this hook of the name of the use dispatch. Let's take this dispatch, and here, when I will get the conversation ID, I would like to append this message to our local store, and we'll go for dispatch. And here we just need to dispatch this action which we have created, and that will be imported. This add message will be imported from the dashboard slice. And here we'll dispatch the add message and we'll pass an object. So that will be our action.payload. And we'll be passing the conversation ID and we'll be passing the message object, this one which we have right here. So we'll just dispatch add message with the conversation ID and message. Let's go to the dashboard slice, and here we are getting from the action payload, conversation ID and message. So now we should be able to add this message to our local store. How we can test this? Let's start our application, open the developers tab. Let's point for Redux. Here we have the initial state. I will press new chat. I will send the message, hello, this is test message, and I will send this, and I can see that the action was dispatched of the name dashboard add message, and I will check the store state, and now I'm able to see that we have one element in the conversation array, and here we have the ID of the conversation, and here we have the array of the messages, and here we are able to see that our first message, which we have right now written, and now we are able to see that message in our store state. And now when we are able to see that first message in our store state and we have that first conversation, in the next video we can display this conversation as the list item and also append this message on the screen. Let's display right now the real conversation on the left. We know that we are able to create the new conversation pressing this new chat button and just add this conversation to our store. Let's open the VS Code, and here in the sidebar.js we can get all of the conversations from our store. How we can do it? Same as we have been doing before. We have here the use dispatch, we'll get the use selector. And from the use selector, what we can get? We can get all of the conversations. Let's go for the const conversations, and we'll be executing this use selector hook, and that will return as the state of our application. And I would like to go for state dashboard dot conversations. Now we know if these conversations will change. I would like to render the list of the list items. Now we'll go for the curly braces. We'll take all of that conversations which we have in our store state. We'll map through them, and we'll receive every conversation from every single element in the array of the conversations. And now I would like to render the list item for every single conversation, and here we'll pass some properties. The key, when we are mapping through the elements, always in the React we need to define the key, which help our React application when it's going to re-rendering this list. Also, I would like to pass the title, which will be c.messages, and will point for the first message, because what's the title? This is the text which we have on this list item, and that should be the first message of the conversation. And how we can find the first message of the conversation? We'll take the messages array and we'll point for the first element of this array, and we'll pass the content. Also, we'll pass the chat ID, and as you remember, we are assigning this as the conversation ID. It should be even the conversation ID, but we'll left this as a chat ID. List item should be here, because here we'll be able to choose the already existing conversation later on when we'll be just adding the new messages. But now we just wanted to display this. Later on we'll work with the existing conversations when we'll be fetching them from the server side. But now we have our list item, which we are interested with, and now we can refresh our application. Now I will go for the new chat. Hello, this is a new chat, and I will send this message, And now I'm able to see that information. Hello, this is a new chat. So we are able to see the new conversation, and now we should display this on the screen. AI should be response in our application, and later on when we refresh our application, this here will be still visible, but we don't have this logic on the server side right now. So now we are able to display the real conversation which we have started on the sidebar, and in the next video let's display this message on the screen which we have written. One more thing which I have noticed in our application is when we'll send a first message, let's just send test, what will happen? We'll create the new conversation with the new ID. And now we will want to append the new messages to already existing conversation. But now when we'll just write test2, what will happen? The new conversation will be created. And why? That's the problem. Because we are, after sending the first message in our new message input, we are not setting in our store selected conversation ID, and this value is still new, and we are assigning the new conversation, but we are using already existing one in the same view. And how we can solve this? We can do it that very easily. Here we dispatching the action of the name of the add message, and just under this we'll dispatch the next action here in the new message input, and we'll dispatch set selected conversation ID and make sure that this is coming from the dashboard slice, and here we'll just pass the ID, and this is the conversation ID which was created with the UUID. Now that's everything. When we'll just refresh our application, we'll go for the new chat, we'll write test. And now when we'll write the second message, this second message will be appended to this already created conversation in our store state because we have set selected conversation. Now let's press this, test, and as you see, the new second conversation was not created because we are using the same one. When we'll go to the Redux, here in the dashboard, conversations, here we have these messages. And as you see, we have the message number 0 and the message under the index 1 with this test 2. So that's working perfectly. And why it's working like this? Because in the dashboard slice, as you remember, we are looking for the existing conversation. If the conversation exists, we are just pushing the message. If not, we are creating the new conversation. That's fine. And now let's display the real messages. We'll go to the messages.js, and what we would like to get right here. In the messages, I would like to get the selected conversation ID and all of the conversations. And to do it, we need to do it as the same as before. We just need to import the use selector from React Redux, like this. Now, when we'll be getting this, what I would like to get from our store state const, and I would like to get the selected conversation ID, and also I would like to get the selected conversation ID and the conversations. This is what we are interested with, and here we'll point for this use selector, we'll pass state, and I will just retain the state.dashboard. We'll return the all values which we have in the state.dashboard, but here will be with the object destruction, we will get the selected conversation ID and the conversations. So that's the values, that's the properties which we have in our store state. Going back to the messages, now we would like to render the real conversation. So let's take the conversation, but first we need to find the conversation. How we can find the conversation? We just need to go and find the conversation like this, const conversation. We just need to find the conversation which is selected, and to do it, we just need to take all of the conversations, go and execute function of the name of find, and we'll receive all of the conversations, and we'll be looking for the conversation ID of this one which is selected. Because we just wanted to display the messages for the selected conversation ID. So we just need to loop through the conversations and find this one which is chosen. Now, when we'll be able to find this conversation, we'll be able to display the real messages, because as you remember, we have an array of the messages. So now, if the conversation will be found, I want to go for the messages and map through them, and we'll receive for every message, we'll receive the message and index, because we can always also in the map function get the index. And here we'll just use the normal braces, and here we'll be just rendering the message component, and here we just need to pass some properties. We will pass the key, and the key will be message ID. Also we'll pass the content, that's the content of the message, so that will be m.content. We'll pass, if this is the AI message, m.ai message, and also we'll pass the animate. We would like to only animate the last message, and if that's the AI message. And how we can check that? So we can check if the index is conversation.messages.length. So we will be checking if this is the last message, and also if this is the AI message, we'll be just animating this. And that's everything. That's the message which we are interested with. Just rendering the real messages. Let's open our application, localhost 3000. Let's go for the new chat. Let's write hello. As you see, the real message is right now visible on the screen. We'll write hello second message. Let's send this, and we are able to see right now that we have the two messages on the screen, the real messages. If that will be an AI message later on from the server side, will have a different background, and as you remember, the different icon. But now we are able to see the real conversations. What will happen when we press the new chat? As you see, now we have the new conversation. Let's type the new conversation, and as you see, we are able right now to display the new conversation. Now we don't have a logic about the selecting the existing conversation to just show the messages, but now our new chat functionality with displaying the real message is working perfectly. We are able right now to display the message on the screen, which we are right now typing right here. What we would like to do it right now is to send that message to the server. How we can achieve that? Let's go back to our new message input, and here we just left this comment of the send message to the server. And to do it, we need to emit an event to the server side, and we will be doing that in the socket connection file, socketcon.js. Let's go to this file, and let's add the function which will be responsible to send the message to the server. How we can do it? We can just define the function export const send conversation message, and here we'll be passing the message, and also we would like to pass the conversation. We'll be accepting the conversation as a parameter to this function, same like the message. And now we'll emit to the server, because as you remember, we said before that in the SocketIO we can emit and events and listen for them, and I would like to emit to the server side event of the name of conversation message. And here I will pass the object with that message, like this, with the message and the conversation ID. Now, if we will just execute that function, send conversation message, let's go back to this new message input, and after we will set selected conversation ID and we'll add the message to our local store, I would like to send that message to the server side. And we just need to execute this function which we have created, so that will be send conversation message, and we know that we are accepting the two parameters. First one is the message, and the second one is conversation ID. Let's check if the import statement has been added correctly. Make sure that this send conversation message is coming from the socket connection socketcon. Okay. So that's nice. Now we have this socket connection, and we are able to emit that event to the server side. Let's go to the file of the name of index.js at our server folder, index.js, and now we'll go through to socket server.js. And as you see, we are only listening if any new user will connect. And if we'll be emitting an event from the server side, we need to create, from the client side, we need to create at the server side the event listener for this event which was emitted by the client. And now we just need to take this socket connection object with the specific user, and here we just need to add the event listener. And for what we would like to listen for? We would like to listen for socket on conversation message. Conversation message. And now, if any client will emit this event, we'll be able to get the data which is coming here with that event. And now I would like to pass this to the conversation message handler, which we'll create right now. I will pass the socket. So this is the socket data about this user which just emitted this event, conversation message. And here I will pass the data. Let's create this handler below, const conversation message handler. Here we'll be accepting the socket and the data. And now what we would like to do it. For now, let's just log this data, console log data, and we can add also the information that the message console log message came from client side, like this. Now, to make sure that if we will be able to see that logs on the server side, we need to restart our server because we don't have like the node daemon which is watching for changes. So we need to restart our server manually. So let's find where you have your server started, or if you don't have, just started right now with the command of node index.js. Now I will go back to my application. I will refresh that, and when I will go for the new chat and type the message, the logic of sending the message to the server should be executed. Let's go where it will be exactly. Here in the new message input, we'll go this send conversation message function should be also executed, so the message should be added to the local store, and now it should be sent to the server. The client side will emit an event to the server of the name of conversation message with this data. And now we are listening at the server side for this event, here socket on conversation message, and we are passing this to this handler of the name conversation message handler. And here we should be able to log this message at the server side. Let's see if we'll be able to do it. Let's type hello, we'll go and press enter. I will go to the terminal, and as you see, I just received that message at the server side that the message came from client side. We have the message and conversation ID. And that's how we'll be able to save the chat history and also ask AI about the response about this message which we have sent. So for this video, that will be everything. And in the next video, we will work with the sessions, because here, as you see, we have the message. But we need to connect this message and this conversation with this specific browser, with this specific session, because if we will go for the incognito mode or private mode, that will be another session, and the second user or in the another browser should not see our conversations. So we need to add to our application the session management system, and we'll use for this local storage, and also we'll be generating unique session ID with UUID, and depends on that we'll be fetching the chat history. In our application, to have the chat history, we just need to manage the sessions of the users. We'll be not going for the login with the authentication login and register, but we'll be just keeping the chat history for one specific browser. Or if the user will go for the private mode, that will be like the separate client. And also if you will just turn on the another browser, that also will be the separate client. But if you will come back to the same browser, you will be able to see your previous messages which you have exchanged in our application. How we can achieve that? Let's go to our socket connection file. And here we are just logging the information when we successful connect with SocketIO server. And what I would like to do it right now, When I successfully connected with the SocketIO server, I would like to emit an event to the server to ask about my session. How I can do it? Let's go and just add the comment get session history. So make sure that you are in the socket connection file, in the socket.conf file, in the socket connection folder at our React application. And now I will emit an event to the server, same as we have been doing with that conversation message. And I would like emit an event to the server of the name of session history. So ask server, I will emit an event to the server to receive the information about the session. And here I will pass the session ID. From where this session ID will be coming? We'll be saving the session ID in the local storage. For now, it will be undefined, but that's fine because, for example, that will be the new client and he will send the server to the information that we would like to receive the session history, and the session ID will be undefined. So the server will create the new session and emit back to us this session ID, which will save in the local storage. And here we will just get the item from the local storage under the key of session ID. But this will do nothing because we need to create the event listener at the server side. And to do it, let's go to the socket server.js. And now we'll add another event listener. Here we have this socket on conversation message, but just before I will go for socket on, and here I will go for the session history, where we'll be receiving the data. And now we'll be just passing this to the session history handler. And we'll be passing the socket as before to emit event back to the client, and also we'll be passing the data. We need to add this handler here in this file. So just before the conversation message handler, I will go for session history handler. These handlers could be in the separate files, but just for simplicity, we're gonna keep that in one file. Here we'll be receiving the socket and also data. Now, when we have this session history handler, what I would like to get from this data? As you remember, we are getting the session ID from the local storage. So it will be sent to the server, and here at the server side we'll be getting that from the data with the object destruction. And now, how we can check? We can define the object here in the socket server of the name of sessions, and that will be just the empty object. Now, here we'll be keeping all of the sessions of the users connected with the chat history. So when we'll just restart our server, we'll lose the history of our application, but when the server will be going, we'll have all of that history of the chat history on our server side. Now, we can check if that session exists. Of course, it will be not existing because now we are sending the undefined, but we'll be checking this under this. If the sessions exist of this specific key, of this specific ID, here I would like to send existing session data back to user. That's the one case. But now let's handle first the second case, that this session we know that this is coming as the undefined, so we need to create the new session. So we just wanted to create the new session, and how we can do it? First, let's create the new session ID. So that will be the new session ID, will be UUID, and we'll be generating this like this. Of course, we need to require this UUID. How we can do it here? We'll go for const v4 as UUID, and here is just the alias. And now we'll go for require UUID like this. Now we are executing this UUID function to generate the new random ID. And now what we'll do it? The sessions will take the object, and now the key will be this session ID which we have created right now, and we'll assign the empty array. Why empty array? Because under the session key we'll have an array, and that will be an array of the conversations which we have on this specific session. Now we can define the session details, which will send back to the user. So let's go for const new, maybe session details. We can go like this, session details, and that will be the object. What we want to send to the user? We want to send to the user the session ID, will be this new session ID which we have created. And also I want to pass the all conversations which already exist. We know that's the new session, so that will be just the empty array like this. And now what we can do it, we can take this socket which we passed right here, and now we can emit back to the user an event of the name of session details. And here we'll be passing this session details which we just created right now. And it will be this is fine because we are just emitting event to this client, but we don't have created at the client side right now the event listener, because here we need to listen at the client side for the event to receive that data. But we'll do that right now. But first, let's go back to our server. And here, let's send the existing session data back to the user. Let's take care about this. If this session will be found, for example, before we exchanged the messages in our application, so this session already exists, so we can send the previous conversations to the user. How we can achieve that? We can go for socket emit, and we'll be doing exactly the same as the session details. And here, I would like to pass an object. I know that this session, for example, it will be already existing session. It will be passing this session ID. And also I want to pass the old conversations. So the conversations history. So we'll be going for the conversations. And as you see, we are able to find the conversations under the sessions object and the session ID key. So to do it, we need to go for sessions, this object which we have created, and pass the session ID like this. Now we have two cases, that if the user have already existing session, or if user has the new session. And that's right now everything at our server side, but at the client side, we need to create the handler for the session details. Let's go back to socket connection file. And let's create the event listener just after logging this socket. Just after this socket.id, I would like to get socket, maybe just under here, just after emitting this session history, socket on session details, because that's the name of the event which we are just emitting by the server side. And here we'll be receiving the data. And as you remember, in the data, we have the session ID and the conversations. So we can use the object destruction to get this session ID and also the conversations. And you will be getting that from the data. And now we can go for the local storage, set item of key session ID, and now we can set as the session ID this session ID which is coming from the server side, like this. And also we'll take our store object, because as you remember, I said that we can also change the store state from here, and that's the reason why we have added Redux to our application. And to do it, we need to import store from the file which we have defined our store. It will be exactly right here, store.js. And to import this, we just need to point for the store file which we have created. And now when we'll have an access to this store, we can dispatch the action. Why I want to dispatch the action? Because conversations are coming. If that's the new session, that will be empty array, but if that will be already existing session, here we'll have the chat history. So we just need to go and use this store dispatch, and I would like to dispatch an action right here, and that will be the set conversations which we have not created, but we'll do it right now. And here I will pass the conversations. So that will be this initial chat history from the server side. So here we have this set conversations, but we don't have this action. We have not created this action. And to do it, let's go to the dashboard slice. and we want to add message, and here we'll just under the add message, let's go for set conversations. And here we'll be getting the state of our app, action, and from action we can get this data which we are passing to this action. We were just dispatching this, and now I would like to set the state conversations as these conversations which are coming from the server side. Let's go for the action.payload, and also because let's check in the socket connection, we are just passing here this not in the object but just straight these conversations, so they will be available under the action.payload. And in that dashboard stylize, also I want to do it one thing. As you remember, the session established is false. At the initial connection with the SocketIO server, we'll ask the server side about the session details. And the server side will return us the session details. And if that session details will be returned, I would like now to set that our session is established here in the dashboard slice, because we will know about the data of the previous conversation, or if the session of this specific ID does not exist on the server side, the new session ID will be assigned. And to do it, we can go just very easily and just change the state session established, and here we'll just go as true. Because why we want to do it? Because when we'll be fetching the session data, I just wanted to show the loading spinner, which we'll add in the next video, and only when the session will be established, this loading spinner will be gone. Now we need to export this from this file of the set conversations like this. And now when we have that set conversations, let's go back to socket connection, and here we need to add the necessary import statement. Just under import store from the store, we'll go and import the set conversations from this dashboard slice which we have in our application. So we just need to point for the dashboard folder and dashboard slice. Now it's looking fine, and we can test our functionality in the next video about the fetching the session details, and we'll check if we are able to see that information in the local storage. To test our logic of the sessions, we need to restart our server. Let's restart our server. Let's close the application which is opened. I will open the new tab, Google Chrome. And just before I will start the application, I want to do it one thing. Start my server, restart my server. I will go for node index.js, because as you remember, we don't have any watcher, so we need to restart this manually. Now when the server is restarted, I will open the developers tab, and now let's go as the application local storage, and here we don't have our local host. Let's open the local host 3000. And now we should ask the server side about the session history, but something is not working because my React application is not started. So just before I will start my app, I need to go for the npm start. Let's just wait a while. Now my application is started. Now I will go for the localhost 3000, and now let's check what happened. Now we are able that we have under the local storage in our application storage, here we have this HTTP localhost 3000. And as you see, we have the session ID, and here we have this specific ID. Now this ID will be not changed, because when we'll open once again our application, we'll take the session ID, which is right here, so in the socket connection file at the client side, and we'll emit an event to get the session history about this specific session ID. Now server will be looking here in the socket server. Here he will find the already existing session which was created before at the initial connection, and will emit back to the user this session ID and also the previous conversations. If there was no information about the session ID, or this session was not found, we'll create the new session with the empty conversations, and this new ID will be assigned back to the client when he will go to the socket connection, and when that will come from the server, the session ID. If that will be the new, we will set this as the local storage set item session ID, and we'll just dispatch information in our store that we would like to set the conversations. So our sessions are working perfectly. And what we'd like to do it right now, when we have dashboard slice, here we are changing the state session established as true, and if that will be false, I would like to show the loading spinner, which we'll add in the next video. Let's add right now loading spinner, and to do it, in the dashboard folder, we'll create the new file of the name of loading spinner.js. And here, let's create the functional component, const. I will go for like this, loading spinner. And what we will want to do it, we just want to return a div with the class name of the overlay. And this styling for this loading spinner will be included as before in this dashboard.css file. This is just the overlay. So the overlay, which will be 100% width and height of the screen. And here we'll have the div of the class name of spinner, and here this class name will be responsible for the spinning animation. When we'll go to the CSS, you can see the keyframes defined, and here just the styles for this spinner. Nothing special, that just simple CSS with the simple animation. Now, when we'll go to the dashboard, here just under the sidebar and the chat, I would like here to display this loading spinner. For now, let's leave it as it is. Let's go back to our application, and as you see, we are able to see that loading spinner. And we would like to see this spinner only when the session established is false, but when that information about the session will come from the server side, we would like to hide this spinner, and we should be able to use our application. And to do it, we can do it in the very simple way. As you remember, we just need to import use selector from React Redux, and here we'll just get the information. If the session is established, we just need to go for the session established. Let's go for this use selector hook, which will give back us the state of the application, and we just point for the state.dashboard.session established. Now we can take this session established variable, which we are getting from our state, and now loading spinner will be only visible if the session will be not established with the simple conditional statement. If that will be false, the loading spinner will be visible. Let's check if that will be working. Now, as you see, we are not able to see anymore right now this loading spinner. I will press enter. As you see, that was only like the milliseconds when we have been seeing this loading spinner, but if our server will be deployed, the initial connection can take a little longer, and we don't want to have an access to our application, but the session is established, so server side send us information about the already existing session or about the new session, and now we are able to use our application, and we are successfully connected with the SocketIO server. If we'll be not successfully connected with the SocketIO server, that will be an error with our server. Here we'll be seeing all the time this loading spinner. Now, when we have this session management system, we can come back to our diagram, and when the user is sending the message to the server, now we are just only logging this message which is coming from the client side, but we would like to save this message in our sessions object which we have created, and that's our store, and we would like to send the request to OpenAI API with the user message. That part we'll be doing at the end of our course, so we'll prepare only right now the dummy AI message, and we would like to respond back with that dummy message to the client, and I would like to display at the client side this message and also save that in the store. And later on, when we'll reopen once again the same application in the same browser, I would like to fetch chat history. When we'll create that fetching chat history and saving all of the messages system, Later on, we'll move to OpenAI API to generate the real AI responses. And to do it, let's go to the socket connection file, socketcon.js at client side. As you remember, when the user is sending the conversation message, we are emitting an event to the server of the name of conversation message. What we would like to do it also right here? I would like to add one more thing, because we know that we have this system of the sessions. So now I would like to add to this object the session ID, the user session ID. And now we can do it very easily with local storage get item, and here we'll pass the session ID, because with that we will know which user is sending the message of which specific session, and we'll be able to append this in our chat history and connect that message which was sent by user with this specific session. And if we will do it like this, we'll be able to fetch the chat history later on when we will reopen our application. Going back to the server right now, socket server.js file, here we have this handler, conversation message handler, and what we would like to get from the data. Now we know that we also attached the session ID, so let's go as the session ID. Now also let's get the message and the conversation ID. And that will be coming, of course, from the data. Now we can remove that, this logs, and now we want to find this session. If sessions of this specific session ID exist, and as remember, if the user is going with the flow of the application, if he's not trying to doing anything, or our application will be not bugged, this session should be found, because here we are creating the session and adding this to our sessions object. Now, when we'll be able to find this session, what we want to do it? We just want to generate the AI message. For now, it will be just the dummy AI message. So let's go as the AI message. And here, just before, we should ask the OpenAI API about the response, but we'll be doing that later on. Here, I would like just to prepare the message. So that will be the AI message. Will be just content, hello, here is AI. The ID of the message we need to assign as the UUID, same as before, because every message should have the unique ID, and we'll pass, if that's the AI message, we'll pass true. So that's our dummy message. And now we have the message which is coming from the client, and also we have the AI message, which will be later on generated by OpenAI API. Now, I want to find the conversation, because here we have the conversation ID, and we know that to get an access to the conversations, we need to loop through all of the sessions under the session ID key. Because as you remember, to this we are assigning the array, and that will be the array of the conversations. And to do it, let's find the conversation which we are interested with, because we would like to append the chat history. And we'll go for the sessions, session ID, this one which is coming from the client side, and we'll find the conversation, because we know that under this key in this object we'll have the conversations. Now will be c conversation c.id, and I would like to find the conversation of the user we just sent this message. Now, if we'll not find the conversation, so it will mean that's the first message in the new conversation. It can happen, because when we open our app, we'll press the new chat, we'll type and send that to the server side. This conversation will be not existing at the server side, but if we'll choose already existing conversation before, the server will know about this before and will have that in the history of the conversations. But now let's handle that this is absolutely the new conversation. And how we can do it? We can take this sessions under this session ID, and now I would like to push the new conversation with the messages. The ID will be the conversation ID, which was assigned at the client side, the new conversation ID. And here we'll just assign also the array of the messages. And here we'll pass this message from the client side as the first item in the array, and the second, this AI message from the server side. Now, that's the case if the conversation does not exist. And now let's handle the situation that conversation exists. If conversation exists, what we would like to do it? We would like right now just to get this conversation which we have found, and we can go for the messages and just push these new messages to this array. The new message from the client and also the message from the AI. We'll go for the AI message like this. Now, we just want to emit back to the user our updated conversation. And how we can achieve that? We can achieve that by, here this conversation was not existing, so we need to find this conversation once again. So now, when we'll push that to the conversation, I want to emit back an event to the user with that conversation. So let's go as the socket emit, and we would like to emit to the user conversation details. Now we just need to pass this conversation which we have created right now, or we have updated existing one. And how we can do it? We can do it the same, like I would like to pass the updated conversation, but I need to find this once again, updated conversation. And here we just need to go for sessions under this key of session ID. Let's go for find, and now we'll be looking for c.id and here conversation ID. Like this. Why we are just doing this once again? Here we have the same logic right here, but try to imagine that that was undefined. And here we just created, under this key, we have created the new conversation. We have created the new conversation right here. So that was undefined. We were not able to find this. And if that would be this case, that was not existing, and we would send this conversation, that would be undefined. So once again, we need to find this. And now we will just mark this as the variable of the name of updated conversation. Now, when we have this conversation details, we can pass this updated conversation with the client message and the AI messages, AI message. So try to imagine that that will be not the dummy message, but that will be the message from the AI. AI is generating response. We have the client message, which we have pushed to already existing conversation or to the new one. We have the message from the AI, and we just emitting back to the user this new message, that this conversation which would like to update. And to do it, we need to go right now to the client side, to the socketcon.js, and here we would like to listen for this event. And we know that this is the conversation details. Let's go back and check this. The name of the event will be conversation details. So let's get back to socket connection file. And here at the client side, we'll create the new event listener of the name of conversation details. And I would like to get the conversation history, or we can get like conversation details. Let's go under name of the conversation. And now what we'd like to do it? We want to update our store that the user will be not seeing our message, which we have on the screen right now, but also I would like to add this AI message. So we will just update the conversation in our store of our React application. And to do it, we need to go for store dispatch, and here we'll pass the set conversation history, and we'll just dispatch this action, and we'll pass this conversation which is coming from the server side. Of course, this action is not created, so let's import this from the dashboard slice, set conversation history, and let's go to the dashboard slice and create this right now. Here we have this add message, set conversations, and here we'll go for set conversation history. Here we'll be receiving the state of our application, the action, from where we'll get the new. And now we have set conversation history. What we want to get? We want to get from the action.payload ID of the conversation which we would like to set, and also the messages. And we'll get that from action.payload, because in the socket connection file, as you see, the conversation is coming right here, and we are passing this to the action which we are dispatching, this conversation. And in this conversation, we know that the conversation has ID and also the messages, the array of the messages. Now, going back to the dashboard slice, here we have this action.payload. Now let's find the conversation. We'll go for const conversation, and we'll go for state conversations dot find, and we'll be looking for this conversation which we would like to update the messages, and we'll go for conversation ID should be the same as the ID which we want to update. Now if the conversation will be found, if conversation exists, if the conversation exists, we'll go for the conversation dot messages, and we'll assign these messages which are coming from the server side. And now also we'll add the else statement that can be case but should not be existing, that the conversation not exist, because we are creating the new conversations at the client side when we are sending the first message. Here we have const conversation undefined, state conversations, find conversation ID will be the ID. And now let's handle the case that the conversation that will not exist. So we will go for state conversations, and we'll just push this conversation which is coming from the server. We'll pass the ID and the messages. Now that's everything, and let's test our functionality. What should happen? Now we are sending the message to the server, to the socket server. Now here we are just adding this message to our sessions. We have this dummy AI message, and that should be emitted back, conversation message handler, that should be emitted back to the user with the event of the conversation details. At the client side, we are listening for this event of the name of conversation details, and we are updating our store with that, all of that messages. So our message and this message, which is just the dummy AI message. So the user should see also that message on the screen. Set conversation history is not found because in the dashboard slice, when we have created this set conversation history, we should get this from this dashboard slice actions, export this. Now it should be fine. And to test this, as you remember, we need to restart our server side. I will close the application. Here I have my server. I need to restart this with node.index.js. I will open my application right now under localhost 3000. I will go for I will open the developers tab if that will be no any errors. Let's open the new chat. Let's write hello AI, and let's hopefully everything should be fine. I'm sending the message, and as you see, this is the AI message, dummy AI message generated on the server side. And now it's returned back to us. And this message is up and is our local store of the application is being updated. And now we are able to see that message from the server. Try to just type hello to, and once again, we should be able to see another message from the server side. And as you see, our server crashed. Conversation messages is not a function. So we just made a mistake in the socket server. Let's go to the socket server. Something is wrong because here, if the conversation already exists, because now we had before this two previous messages, we just wanted to take the conversation which we have found under this session, and I would like to go for the messages, and here we just missing the push method. It's not a function, this is the messages are the array, and we are pushing this new message to this array of the conversations. Now it should be working fine, and to test this once again, we need to restart our server, node.index.js. Let's refresh our application, new chat. Let's go for test 1. Here, hello, here is AI, test 2. Now, as you see, these messages will be appended to already existing conversation, and same it will be at the server side. What we can do it right now? we can take care that we'll see all of the previous conversations, and if we'll press another conversation right here, we'll fetch the old chat history. When we'll be fetching the old chat history, we can test with the private window with the absolutely new sessions if we'll have two different chat histories, and if that will be working fine, we'll be able to move and work with the OpenAI API to generate the real AI responses. And what happened in our application right now when we are saving the messages on the server side? Let's open our application localhost 3000, and as you see, we are able to see the previous conversations. Let's open the new chat. I will just type test, and as you see, for every new chat which I will open and I will start the conversation, the new conversation will be saved on the server side and it will be emitted back to us with the AI message, and here we'll be able to see all of the started conversations. But now when we are clicking on when we are pressing on the one of the conversations, nothing is happening, because what we need to do we need to handle the situation that when we want to open the already existing conversation. How we can achieve that? It will be very simple. Now here we have this list item, and as you see, we don't have on-click event assigned, we have only empty arrow function. So here we'll add the necessary handler that if we will press already existing conversation, we'll fetch all of the conversation history of this specific one and we'll render all of the details. How we can do it right now? To do it, we need to go to the sidebar, because here we are rendering the list items. We are passing the ID. Here I would like to change this not for the chat ID but the conversation ID. So that will be the conversation ID which will be passing. And also I would like to pass this handler of the name handle set selected chat as the property to list item, like this. Now let's copy this. Let's go to the list item. We'll accept this from the props, and that would be handle set selected chat. And now on click, what I would like to do here, let's get the conversation ID from the props, because from the sidebar.js, here we are passing the ID of the conversation as conversation ID. And on click, I would like to execute the arrow function. And what we would like to have here, handle set selected chat, and here we'll be passing this conversation ID. So now we'll be able to choose already existing conversation. Let's refresh our application. I will press the one of the conversation, and as you see, we are able to see all of the previous messages. And for now, that will be everything. Let's check right now if everything is working with all of the previous conversations. Now we have all of the old conversations. So what we can do let's restart our server to clear the server sessions that will not have the previous messages. And now when the server will be restarted and we'll open our app, we will not have the previous conversations. Because as you remember, we are saving our conversations on the server side in the socket server here in the sessions object. But if the server will be restarted, it will be resetted to empty object and we lost all of the old conversations. If we don't want to have this effect, we need to connect that with the database. Now we have our application, and let's check if everything is working. Let's go for the new chat. I will write just the chat 1. Here, as you see, there is coming the message from the AI. Hello, here is an AI. Now I will open the second chat. New chat, I will write chat number 2. And as you see, we are able to see second conversation which we have started. Let's go back right now to chat number 1. We should see the messages from the chat number 1. And let's write the message. Hello, this is next message. Let's send that message, and we are able to see the user message and this response from the server, which is just the dummy AI message. Now, when we'll be changing this for another chat and going back to the chat number 1, we are able to see all of that real messages. Let's also check this chat number 3 if everything is working. So now we can jump over the all of the conversations. Now let's refresh the site, localhost 3000, and still we are able to see all of that messages which we have created, and also the messages from the server, which is the hello, here is AI. And now this is the one, this is like the one session. Now when we'll open a new incognito mode, new private tab, we should not see these messages because that would be separate session, because new incognito window does not share the local storage. And now if we go to the localhost 3000, as you see, this will be a different session in the different browser. Now when we'll go for new chat, let's write test, we'll go for test 1. And as you see, we'll have a different messages. Let's go and open once again the new chat. We can type different. Let's press enter. And as you see, we'll have like test 1 and different. Now we'll refresh, because when we'll close this incognito window and open this once again, we'll lose this session. But now we are still in the same browser. Now we are able to see the messages from this session. And this second user is seeing still only these messages from his session. So that's working perfectly, that every user which will connect to our application, he will have own session and own chat history. And I think what we are missing in our application right now is just to handle this situation that we would like delete all of the conversations, that if we press this button, all of the conversations will be removed, and also the chat history from the server side also will be deleted. After that will be done, we can move and start working with OpenAI to generate a real AI responses from the server side. Let's add this possibility of removing the conversations. How we can achieve that? It will be very simple. Let's go to this button, delete conversation button. And here we would like just to create the handler of the name of const handle delete conversations. And that will be an arrow function. And here what we would like to do it. We'll just dispatch an action. Here in the dashboard slice, we are able to, and we have created before this action of the name of set conversations. And to reset the conversations at our side of our client side, we just need to pass the empty array as the action payload. So to the dispatched action, we'll pass the empty array and we'll set state conversations empty array, and we can just, that will be true because session is established, and we can even do it that once again and nothing will happen when we reassign the same value. So we can create the new action of the name of delete conversations and assign the empty array, but we can use already existing one. So let's use this one. Delete conversation button. What we want to do with, we need to import use dispatch as before from React Redux, use dispatch from React Redux. Let's get this dispatch function, which will allow us to dispatch an action, and that will be coming from the use dispatch hook. And here we just need to dispatch, and we want to dispatch this set conversations, and here we just need to pass an empty array. That's everything to set the empty array in our store. But to remove the chat history totally, or we will create the separate action, because we want to do it one more thing when we are, because try to imagine that we have opened a conversation with the messages and we are clearing that. So we want to do it one more thing. We'll create the separate action. We'll be not using the set conversations, but we'll create the new action. In the dashboard slice, let's create the action of the name of delete conversations. And we'll get the state. We don't need to get in payload because here we'll be just setting the values. And now we'll go for state conversations and we'll go for the action.payload. But also I would like to reset the selected conversation. So we'll go state, selected conversation ID will set once again to null. I would like to add this field because when we will have open conversation with the messages, I would like to delete all of the conversations. So I just wanted to delete everything what we have, and we'll come back to the initial state of the application. So now let's export this from the actions, delete conversations. And now going back to the delete conversation button, here we will dispatch the action of the name of delete conversations. And of course we need to import this, import delete conversations from dashboard slice, from the from where we would like to import this from the dashboard folder, dashboard slice here. And now we'll be able to delete conversations at the client side. Let's assign this on click right here, handle delete conversations. Now let's check how it will be working. We have an error that the action is not defined in the dashboard slice. Let's go to the dashboard slice. What we have done right here, we need to go back, set conversations, state.action, state action. Here, when we are deleting the conversations, we just wanted to assign the empty array. We don't have right now this action.payload because we are not dispatching anything. So now let's refresh the app. We'll go to delete conversations. As you see, the conversations are being deleted, but when we refresh our application, still we are able to see that conversations because we have not cleared our server store. And to do it, let's go right now to the socket connection file, socketcon, and here we'll create the new function of the name export const, delete conversations. And now that will be an arrow function where we'll emit to the server information of the conversation delete. And here let's pass the data, and just with the information that for which session we would like to delete all of the conversations. And of course, we just wanted to delete the conversations with our which are related with our session. So we just need to go for the local storage, get item, and here we'll just pass the session ID. Let's copy this, delete conversations. Let's go to that file, delete conversations button. And we need to import, but we have the same name. So in the dashboard slice, we have delete conversations, and let's add the alias that this we would like to use under the name of delete conversations from store. And we'll import this delete conversations, which will be responsible to connect with our server side from the socket connection folder, socketcon. And now let's copy this because here we just wanted to dispatch this action but under this name. But now we can have two same imports when we'll add the alias for one. And now after we'll just delete conversations from store. Also, I would like to delete conversations from the server side. So our client application will emit an event to the server of the name of conversation delete. Now we need to handle this at the server side. Let's go to the socket server and just socket on conversation message. Here I will create the new event listener that socket on conversation delete will be accepting the data, and we'll just pass this to the conversation delete handler, and we'll pass the socket as always and data. Now let's copy this conversation delete handler. Now we'll go to the bottom. Here we have this handler, which is session history handler, new message, and now we'll just before at the end we'll define where we'll accept the socket and the data as the parameters. And here what we'd like to do it, we just wanted to delete all of the conversations, so we need to get the session ID like this from the data. We need to find if we have the session like this, so if the sessions exist under the key of session ID. What we would like to do it, we would like just to reset the chat history, all of the conversations to empty array. So we'll remove all of we'll reassign this to this key and empty array so that the array with the previous conversations will be gone, and now we'll have the empty array with the clear state for this session. We are not using this socket, so we can use the underscore, and now it will be absolutely fine. What we need to do it right now, we need to check our functionality if that's working, and to check this, we need to restart our server. Because as you remember, when we are just doing some changes on the server side, we need to restart our server. Let's open the application. I have one more opened, which I will remove. I will go for test. I will open another chat that will be test number 2. I will refresh my application so the chat history is working. Let's go and delete conversations. All of them are gone. I will refresh my app, and now I'm not able to see anymore that messages because also we have removed them from the server store. And that's everything at this part of the course. Our UI right now is ready, where we have the chat history. We are able to open the new chats and just fetch the chat history for the specific session ID. And what we will be doing right now, in the next part, we'll work with the OpenAI API to generate the real AI responses. Right now, we are generating in our application dummy AI messages. So we are missing this part with the connection with OpenAI API. That AI will generate the real responses about the questions which we have asked on our chat. And now we'll work on it. How we can achieve that? For this, we need to connect with OpenAI API. And to do it, let's open our browser and we'll go and find for OpenAI. Now, the first site will be openai.com, and here we are interested about that website because here we can find the API of the GPT, not the OpenAI about the GPT, but just the OpenAI API, which will allow us to have our chat completion with AI. And what we can do it, here we have this developers tab at the top, and here we have the overview. What we need to do it, to use our API, AI API, we need to create an account. If you have created before an account, you can just log in. I will continue with my Google account and just pass the registration or login in, and we will meet back at the dashboard after the authentication. After going through the authentication, you should see the dashboard of the OpenAI platform. Here that should be information on the right that you are logged in as your email address and your name. And what we'll have right here, we have the overview and some quick tutorials on the main dashboard and how to build an application. Here we have the documentation, what we can do it with the OpenAI API, that you can find that we have the text completion, chat completion, image generation, speech to text, and all of that stuff which we know about when it's going to OpenAI API. Also here we have the API reference, which we'll be interested with because we would like to have this chat completion, and with that we will be using this part of this documentation to ask from our application, just ask the AI the questions and receive back from OpenAI API responses. Here we have also the playground where you can work with the models, the temperature, the mode which we would like to achieve, and here we have some examples. But we'll go step by step in our application in the next video. So this is just a quick overview of the OpenAI platform.